So, Father God, we come to you. We just ask for wisdom for this meeting, for the city. We thank you that we come to you and you will give us the knowledge and wisdom we need to be able to discuss and vote on the things that are good for the city and for the residents and the businesses and redevelopment and new development in every area. I want to thank you for Matt and for his service and his leadership that he's brought here. And I want to thank you for the new city manager that we have, and that he would have wisdom in the same way we work together as a team, knowing the needs of the city and the people. I thank you for the police and the fire department and parks and recreation and public works and all the council and our lawyer and the businesses and the people here. So we continue to lift this stuff up in the name of Jesus. We thank you that we are going to be discussing all these 13 things for the city, and so we do want to say pledge allegiance to the flag, and we will do that and honor God and what our country was founded on, which is freedom and liberty and justice for all. In Jesus' name, amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Sit back and roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chris Mayer.
Here.
Councilman David Mueller.
Here.
Councilman Robert Hubbard.
Here.
Councilwoman Lisa Burke.
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer.
Here.
City Manager Matthew Koppel.
Here. Thank you. First up, we have proclamations, and I'm going to take that section real quick to have a little impromptu surprise, which I know you enjoy, Matt. But before I do that, the last week, I guess it was, we hired Andrew Butterfield as an interim city manager. It got back to me that there was maybe some confusion on the public's part, because when they joined the meeting, they just saw the public meeting and they didn't know what happened beforehand. So I just want to let people know that we actually went through a series of interviews before the public meeting. Each one of the council members met with the candidates, asked questions, those 15, 20 minutes apiece. And then we reconvened later that afternoon and made the selection. So there's much more process on the front end of that than what the public saw. So just to clarify that. And that being said, so obviously this is Andrew's first meeting. Welcome. And glad to have you. And this is Mr. Copper's last meeting, and so I wanted to make sure that we sent him something with him to remember us by, and it's not a check. So, but I know you didn't want to leave here empty-handed. There goes Sean. And we wanted to give you something more than just a headache. So if you could come forward. Did you get a picture of it? So, as most of you know, Matt's been with us for a very short time, but very important time. He came here, had his hands full. He really, just outperformed us for us here at the city, just in many ways. Even went through 2 hurricanes, one of which was a flooding that we've never seen before. And what's that? Yeah, not his fault. But he did a fantastic job for us. I can't imagine going forward without him, but we wish him the best. And we've got this plaque for him that says, "Thank you, Matthew W. Koppler, for your service, City Manager, to the City of Port Richey, November 13th, 2023 to May 30th, 2025. We do appreciate all you've done for the city, and we wish you well in your next endeavor." Thank you. Round of applause.
Thank you, Matt.
You can box it up with the rest of your stuff.
There you go. So I hate that. It's loaded into storage for a couple days.
Yeah. Okay, next up, comments from the general public. I do have 2 signed up, starting with Danny Fields. Welcome.
Danny Fields, 81, 14, little kid. So again, I just want to thank everybody for their service. I appreciate Matt and all he's done. You know, he's been a blessing to me and to the community and to the city and to all the people here. So I'm that guy. I'm going to say we love you, and we know we could call you, and always look forward to continue to stay in contact with you through the family, that this is what this is. And so I welcome our new city manager as well, and get to know him and partner with him, and together he'll understand that there's a lot that goes on here, and we're growing as a small community, and we're about family and about growth and about hearing the hearts of the people, and then you have to make decisions together as a team to manage it. So thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to being with you. And also for the birthday man here, I think he's 26 years old. I ain't for sure how old he is, but he don't look that old. Happy birthday to you, and many, many more, and blessings in Jesus' name for a long life. And thank you for your service as well. I appreciate you. And we do got something coming up that I'm a part of with Somebody Cares and the local churches and businesses around. And now that event's going to be in Clearwater. We're working with other mayors, as I said, as here as a faith-based church, and communities working together, you know, working not only for the city, but for the county as well as Florida. And so it's called Faith and Family Month presented. And so we're going to have that going on June 8th at Coachman Park in downtown Clearwater at 4:30 to 8 p.m. And there's going to be, same thing, they're going to be just celebrating the community, the faith in the community, and the mayor and the city there, and just put on an event. It will be a big event because they brought in some named worship leaders that are out there on Joy FM, and that put on big concerts, and there's going to be food, fun, and games. So you're welcome to come to that. I do have a flyer. You could go to the website, and it's called fandfm.com, and so it's a great event. It's a good time for us to learn with other cities and other mayors as well, but the options is your guys'. So I just want to thank you again that for the whole month, locally as well as abroad, this is going on all over the United States as well. What we want to do is want to recognize family and bring values and make the family strong, a place where we live and work and love and celebrate. And then when we have disasters and storms, that we come together helping the city manager, helping the residents, volunteer like we've seen it did. We had people, churches step up. We had all hands and hearts. We even use Light of the World for they could stay at and work out to help with cleanup and stuff like that, and food distribution going out from churches and local areas. See, and that's the community partnering with the city and for the well-being of all of us. So I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to get to talk to you and to hear your hearts and your minds and come together. I'm so grateful for the car show, great feedback, for the mayor's ball. That was a great event. And then the parade. So just thank you again for reaching out to community and the fireworks. Oh my God, that was awesome. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Bless you.
Website again, Danny? Yep.
Now, what was that?
Website for that FA.
Yeah, it's going to be FANDFM.com.
FANDFM.com.
Yes. You're welcome.
Next up, I got Jerry Griffin. Welcome.
I'm Jerry Griffin, 7638 Deidre Circle. So to stay on topic, Mr. Koppler's last night, when you first came here, there was enough money in the budget for one road, is what the council was saying. And in the time you've been here, we've seen many new roads, new street lights, drainage ditches being cleaned out. Just things I'm noticing. I mean, that's not all on you. I'm sure the council had a lot to do with it, but it's. We just want to thank you for being here, for your service, and say you're leaving this city in a better place than it was when you got here. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jerry. That's all the sign-ups I have. By show of hands, anybody else like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, bring it back. Next up is comments from the city manager. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper. Oh, different.
You want to go back and approve this swearing in minutes?
Oh, let's get right with that. Sorry about that. So I got a set of minutes, April 22nd, 2025. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second? Anybody?
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Dave, for pointing that out. So next up is comments from the city manager. I pass to Mr. Copper for his comments.
I have a few things for tonight. First off, thank you. Item number one, you might recall almost 60 days ago, council approved the extension of the building permit fee waiver for hurricane damage repair. That time is almost up again. And I think actually it's June 9th. If you want to extend that further, you'll need to do a new resolution, which we probably need some direction on tonight, so the city attorney can get that written up. On top of that, I think the other kind of issue that's hanging out there, that there was a brief conversation the last time we had this conversation regarding lifting of houses. And the question there is, are you including the lifting as part of that permit fee waiver? So a little direction for the city attorney so we can prepare that. It works out, like I said, the 60-day extension expires June 9th. You don't have to be into the 10th, but you just backdate, do a retro for that. So it's not a big deal that there'd be that one day. But you need to make a decision, at least a consensus decision to move forward or not move forward with it tonight, so the city attorney can prepare that for the next agenda.
Okay, what's y'all's thoughts on an extension?
I think they've had enough time. I think we've been very generous. I'm not sure Pasco or even Newport Richey are still open on those permits.
I know Newport Richey is not.
I know that.
Not sure about
You know,
Pasco.
there are still people that are still making repairs.
I know, but if they're making repairs, they should have already got a permit.
Right.
And the
Well,
people,
yes,
the
okay.
people that we're talking about are people that have failed to come in for a permit for whatever reason. Now, my only concern is, what about people that are in the process of getting things? I'm assuming those people are outside of that process, right? If they're trying to raise a house and they're again, we haven't
Yeah,
discussed.
there may be people that are going to raise their house. They're in the process, but they wouldn't have put a permit in.
In other words, they don't have the assembled documents so that they can actually put a permit in.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I'm more concerned with. How do you deal with that? Or, if people have filed by June 9th, then, or if they're in some kind of process waiting for DEP or FEMA or whomever, is that something that
So
can be
I guess
addressed?
not the short circuit discussion, but to make the process maybe a little bit more controlled here. Since this isn't on the agenda, I think what I was looking for is if you're interested in considering doing that, you can then put it on the agenda and have that full discussion on June 9th. And so that's maybe I didn't word what I wanted to say the right way. What I should have said is if you're interested in having that discussion on doing something with it, direct the city attorney to do the resolution. That way you can put it on the agenda and you can have that full discussion one way or another. But I guess
So
it's
I understand, Matt. Because Dave's got some. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Dave's got some valid points there.
Mhm.
Before we have the city attorney go drawing up some resolutions and everything else, why don't we just make a decision whether we're going to or not going to, and then we can decide whether we put it on the agenda or not.
Or more importantly, maybe give some loose parameters of what we're thinking so that we can have something to act upon, right?
But it sounds like we want to talk about it, so yes, we should.
We could amend this agenda and talk about it at the end if you want to do that too, just to give a little more time to it.
Or we can look into it more and then.
I think we'd look into it more. I recognize this, and Elevate Florida program is over, so it's going to affect that too.
I think there's pieces of information that I would expect you to have, like where we stand with our building permits and all that. Obviously the building official nor the revenue manager is here tonight because at least one of them's away at a conference, but for that meeting, you'll have them here for that. So again, I don't want you to start going down a road without all the information and extend this meeting any longer than what you have to. And this was brought to my attention well after the, agenda was already set. So we didn't have a chance to pull all this stuff together for you tonight. So
We'll set up a separate meeting just for that, but according to Ashley and Andy's schedule.
that may be a good idea as
Right.
well.
Is there a planning meeting coming up too?
Well, the next planning and zoning is on the 10th.
The same day as
Yeah.
ours? Okay.
So two things, obviously, talk about whether extend it or not. The other thing would be to include the liftings. But would that be, let's say we don't extend, then we would need to look at probably something going forward if we want to do
If you're
something.
going to do that, yeah.
So is there any, who is interested in extending, I guess, that time frame, or is it undecided? I mean, you're a no, but Bob, where are you at on it?
I'm not, but we can discuss it, but I'm not for it now. No,
I'm not for it. I think people have had plenty of time. I'm not for extending.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, I know there's people that are still working on things. If they're working on things and they already have their permits, great. But if they've waited on their insurance all this time and they're just now going to start because you don't get all your permits at once, correct?
No, you do.
You get them all at once.
Well, it depends. I mean, there's what we've advocated and told people that we wanted to come in and get everything at the same time. That's not always how it works. I mean, a lot of times it works that way.
Then they've had enough time.
Yeah.
Probably.
But
But
it's
if
not-
it's not,
it's
and
not
they're still in the process and they're still getting
good.
permits,
Yeah.
there may be not that many. So what
Yeah.
difference would it make if there's not that many? If there's 20, I mean,
Well, and just for
it wouldn't
clarification,
hurt to let them have what everybody else had.
I mean, there comes a time where you got to stop.
yeah,
You know?
just for clarification. So the floodplain permit, the initial packet that they fill out, that had to be in. They already had a deadline that passed. In that there could be a determination whether you need a building permit or not on certain things. So this cutoff that we're talking about, this looming, would be you have to have that building permit if you need one filed for.
Yep, you have to actually have already been in, submitted, and approved for the building permit.
Okay. Oh, submitted and approved.
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily pay. So if you just submit it, it has to be reviewed first before it actually goes through the full review. So you could submit something, it gets called, well, you're missing five things you need. You haven't submitted it yet, right? But you've submitted it, but it hasn't really been submitted.
So are you on the hook to pay if that deadline?
Well, usually once the clarification is that you've submitted everything, it's a complete packet, it's going through the process, that's when you pay.
So, for example, if you submit June 8th and then June 9th comes, we don't
You're missing
have it.
something.
Would that be in or out?
I think if you've already submitted it before that,
Okay.
then we would.
So we look at,
Yeah.
focus on the submission date. Okay, so that's easy enough to define.
Okay.
And then the issues with raising a house, that's a whole nother animal because that might come a year down the road with, Elevate Florida wants that approval. And at that point, that's totally new construction. So, I mean, we can have that discussion or we can even address that.
You do have people right now that are going to be elevating their houses that aren't going through that process.
Are those exempted? Have been exempted?
There's no relief right now. Right?
No.
For,
Well, I mean,
for an elevation, there's no exemption?
Right, yeah. Right. From our perspective, either tearing it down and building a new house or elevation would be repair of damage.
That's another question I had. So if somebody said, you know what, I'm going to demo my property, there's no building permit fee for that currently.
You need one for demo.
No payment necessary.
If it's
So
related
that's
to the storm.
in our current law, those are waived if you just demo the property, correct?
Right. But if you build new,
Are you not sure about that, or?
Well, I know what my answer is, but I would want to check to make sure that everyone has that answer.
But we're still deciding whether we're going to discuss this later or not, but not really.
Well, yeah, see what parameters we need to give her. And so, just going further on that, the demos, obviously, I think the city is at some point in that process where we're going to be pushing out to force those, because they have 90 days, I think, is once we say it's time to demo it or raise it, which could possibly go past that time frame. It probably is worth a conversation the next meeting to see what we want to do going forward.
Probably is.
And there's probably not much work on your part. It's just an extension, right? So why don't we do that? Just put it on the agenda for next time and we'll have an in-depth conversation on it.
I agree.
Good.
And that would give us time to get the information back.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
That's fine.
there's probably a few things we need to talk about on how we move forward.
There always is. Item number 2 I had is you may recall that the Planning and Zoning Committee is working on the sign codes. One of the issues that came up with that is the types of signs that are allowed in the WOD overlay district. And right now it prohibits the use of lighted signs or message board signs, I don't know how you want to call that. It appears that planning and zoning is open to modifying the WOD to allow those type, which would require the ordinance to be written. And in talking with the city attorney, she would like direction, if you're all in favor of doing that, and putting together that ordinance for the WOD to allow those type of signs.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
Yes.
Let's get it done.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, just put some grease on that, let it roll,
Yeah.
man.
So, and also, would that be prudent to make that ordinance uniform across the city rather than have pocket zoning?
Well, that,
I
yeah.
think that's what I think that's what's going to happen.
Good.
So if planning and zoning does what I suspect they're going to do, and you agree with their recommendation, the electronic digital signs will be allowed. And I think the only place it's not allowed right now is WD.
Is there
Right
any
now, WD specifically
Okay,
doesn't. Yeah.
Needs to be uniform
Yeah.
across.
And that's why I wanted to bring them together.
Is there any other, because in my mind, I don't know why the WOD would be handled any different than the general city. I mean, I can see why they might want to keep that area some. So is there anything else besides electronic signs that would be? Should we just look at overall? Do we want to have a special sign code for the WOD?
I think there were 4 or 5 conditions within the WOD. I think 2 of them P&Z is going to recommend it get rid of.
You can have a square foot variance on digital separate from the other sign. You could separate that possibly. But otherwise,
Yeah, I think they're, generally it's not the best practice to do that, have certain districts called out differently, especially on the signs. I understand why what they thought they were doing made sense, but I think that generally you don't want to do it because it creates a system of have and have-nots. Mm-hmm. You don't want that within your business community, right? You want everyone to be seen as being treated equal.
agreed.
The other pieces that are in there, and I just can't remember that off. I didn't think really impacted overall. I mean, there's sign regulations have undergone a dramatic change since the whole stuff in 2015. But there are certain things when you are trying to create a feel within a district that you should do, and I want to say that those extra ones kind of relate to that, but I don't think that it necessarily made it more burdensome to them or created that system of have and have-nots. I think it's something that, from what I remember, was when I looked at it, I said, yeah, this isn't that bad of a thing. But definitely when you can have one type of sign one place, you can't have it another place, that's my judgment is a bad thing. And so getting rid of what the Planning Commission was talking about, level that across the city. If you're going to create that within the sign code, not within the district and zoning code. But I want to say what the other issues, and I may be wrong, but I want to say the other issues really weren't necessarily related to signs, but I mean, they're really to signs, but worked for what they were trying to do. But again, I reserve my right to change that thought if I read it again.
And you can change it when it gets here.
Yeah.
I'll start the ordinance with what planning and zoning is recommending, which is the way the process should work, and you can always take more out or add stuff back in when it gets here. But at least I'll go. I'm trying to keep the big sign revision ordinance and this together, so in theory, when it changes for everybody, it changes for everybody.
Yeah, no, agreed. Any objections to that methodology?
Okay, make it happen. Yep.
Done.
Third thing, apologize it wasn't. I see it's not on the agenda, but this is the second meeting of the month, which means department presentation. And today our department presentation is finance.
Yeah, motion table. I'm just kidding.
And I believe because finance director was not available at the first meeting, we'll also include a quarterly update as well. But
The floor is yours, Mr. Thompson. Happy to have you. My pleasure.
All right, good afternoon. This is going to be very quick. I only got like 5 slides. So, I don't know how you work this.
Turn it on.
There you go. All right, first we'll take a look at the overall city finances. Right now, we've brought in about $10,672,000 in revenue.
Adam, pull the mic a little bit toward.
Can you hear me now?
What year is it?
This is as of 3 of 25.
And the reason I asked that question is I got that marked off on the first accounting exam that I took. I failed to put the year.
This is 3 of 25. This is a quarterly from 3 of 25. So I was actually preparing a quarterly,
25.
fiscal 25.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So, like I said, our revenues are $10,672,000. Our expenditures as of 3 of 25 was $7,639,000. We appropriated for the whole city $28,473,466, and we have left in that appropriation of $20,833.
Slide.
Huh?
Are you on the right
Yeah,
slide?
I'm on the right slide.
He just read the gray boxes right there.
Yeah, I read. Now, inside,
Those are year-to-date numbers?
as of 3/25, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I prepared this like weeks ago, but I had a little surgery thing happen, so I couldn't do it. So this is a quarterly, and I'll give you a little taste of what we're doing at the end too. So now, included in that $10 million, we've had a couple of monies that come in that needs to be appropriated. We had $531,000 in insurance money that come in that hasn't been appropriated, and also a $65,277 FEMA check that came in from last year. So that's so really our revenues minus those miscellaneous things are $10,075,921. We're still actually we've made more money than we've spent so far this year. In our general fund, I should really work on my slides. I need to put some numbers in there. But as you can see, in our general fund, our general revenues right now was $5,093,955. Our general fund expenditures are $4,338,159. So we've, again, made more revenue than we've spent out of the general fund. Again, we appropriated $8,034,875 in the general fund. So out of that left, we have $3,696,715 of that appropriated money left to spend. Any questions on the general fund? I'm going kind of fast because I think we're on a 9 o'clock deadline, I heard somewhere.
Not yet.
Okay.
But we can put you on a 3-minute.
Yeah, you can do that. That'll be good.
Go ahead.
So then we'll go over to the utility funds. This is your water, sewer, and wastewater. Right now, so this is a little off. When I originally made this, I added in our grant revenues and stuff like that, but I went ahead. I'm going to tell you all just what our revenues for water, sewer, and those types of things are, which is $3,481,029.09. We've expended so far $2,758,881. So again, we brought in more than we've spent. The utility appropriations without any type of grants or anything else was around $6,126,065, and we have left to expend $3,367,183 out of the utility fund. Now this is just the city versus revenue of expenditures. Again, we've appropriated $28,373,466 that we've agreed that we would come in the revenue side, which is sale of water, all of our taxes, and some federal grants and things that we are going to do. Our actual revenue for the whole city was $10,672,375, and we've actual expenditures were $7,639,000. So again, we've spent less than we brought in, which is a good. It's not the greatest of things. So we should be as a city spending. So especially being caught, we need to catch up with our revenue.
Yep.
I see your thing.
Why are we 18 plus million more budgeted than actual?
These are appropriate. These are
the fully appropriated. So all together for the city, for the general fund, penny for Pasco, everything was $28 million. So in all of those funds, we've received about $10,675,000. And we've expended $7,639,000.
No.
These 3 million something.
So any questions on that? Again, we've brought in more than we've spent this year, so which is good. And when you had taken account for the $1 million+ that we spent for cleanup for the hurricane, we're in a really good spot. But of course, also we want to make sure that we're not, undelivering on our services that we have for the city too. So that's where that comment where we should be spending, keeping up with our revenues. We want to make sure that we're giving the same services we should be giving. This is a disaster recovery. This is what we've spent so far and what we've asked for payback from FEMA. As you can see, we've spent roughly about $1.34 million in the cleanup. That's not overtime and other things we do. This is just for the cleanup of the city, debris pickup, stuff like that. So, actually, this may include a little bit of the overtime in there, if I'm not mistaken. But this is what we've expended, and that's what we are requesting back, which hasn't really changed since last time.
And let me just add that we've been in the expedited program for reimbursement for the pickup, the C&D and brush. New definition of expedited. And we should have actually received the first payment, I want to say it was probably about January when they first told us that we were getting it. And they are just in the process of doing the final reviews at the state to cut the check. So, but we're not sure if it's everything or if it's still just the $592,000 they were cutting the original check for. So we should have a check in the next few weeks.
Is some of this money the same money that we use when there aren't hurricanes when we do the spring and the fall cleanups? Is it the same money?
No. So
that's different money.
Yeah, this was strictly just what we spent picking up the C&D and the brush pickup.
So this money
It came from the same place.
Well,
is what
the general fund is where it came from.
And when we do, I don't know that you've been here for the spring cleanups or the.
I have not.
Yeah, we do something where people can bring things here to City Hall for 1 week, and then the second week they come by your home. They'll pick up furniture and everything else. So I didn't know if that was.
This isn't part of that. Actually, we took out.
We do that this year, so I wondered what happened to that money, or is it the same money?
We didn't do it last year.
Well, we did. Yeah, we didn't do it because we had the storm.
So we haven't. Let me rephrase it. We haven't done that since I've been here. So.
Yeah, did we appropriate money for that?
Last time we did that,
Probably.
you'll remember.
Yeah, I think so. Before my time. So.
I just wondered if that was different, the same money or different money, and if it was different money, then where's that money?
Yeah, it was never appropriated for in this budget.
Okay.
Doing that. So.
That's a good thought for our next budget, though, if you want to do that.
Yeah, because we did do it. I thought we just didn't do it this year because of the hurricanes. Because we were already cleaning stuff up.
That's true.
And so this 1.1 million, this isn't the only block of.
This is just the category B, right? Category B.
Yeah, this is just what we've expended for cleanup and stuff like that out of our, fixing pipes, motors, stuff like that busted during the thing. This is all cleanup and fix up from that. That's it. So it's 1.3 million.
So
just real quick, I wanted to point out Idalia and then and then Helene. So that's why we didn't.
That's why we didn't do it the year before too.
Idalia was another massive cleanup, not as big as Helene, but that's why we didn't do a
right. But we usually, we've done that.
Monies,
people love that.
And those monies are usually internal through like Public Works, their budget. It's a very minimal amount. We rent dumpsters. All the work is done internally, so it's not
it's different. Yeah, I wasn't sure where it came from, so.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. So
there is a whole other classification of expenditures. Like what happened for the lift stations, and things like that aren't included in this. That's on a slower track.
Is that where the penalized monies from the waiving the building fees will be taken out of that?
That will be part of the act. Okay. We'll be submitting those costs.
So we should get this full 1.1 back.
Yeah, this they approved it, they authorized it. It was just again the first lump that they were supposed to give us. They never cut the check, and I've seen some of the emails coming from them. It's we didn't know. Should have. Can't believe you don't have the money. Now we're getting something, and we're trying to verify what it is they're supposed to be giving us. Okay.
So just be aware too, this money is going to go into its own separate bank account, and we will eventually in the next month or so working on a budget amendment for this year. So we'll take that money, we'll be able to appropriate that money. You'll also need to appropriate that $500,000 from the insurance and also that $65,000 check. So you can do with that what you will. But just to reiterate, $1 million to do this cleanup, we did take out of we took $500,000 out of each one of our investment accounts. So. Any questions on the cleanup? And then just going forward, our capital improvement money, we budgeted $4.8 million, and as of March 25, we've only spent about $14,205 of that. But I do know that in the past month or so, the utilities department, I think, has been trying to order the vehicles and stuff that we are we put out for capital outlay. And he's actually, I talked to him this morning, he's working on some other stuff, but it just to, show that we have this much money to do these type of capital outlay, we need to be using it to do that. And we've only spent about 14,000, which I know we've been, hurricane cleanup and stuff like that. CRA grants, as we put $100,000 in residential and $100,000 in the commercial. I know we have a couple of commercial that are outstanding right now, but we only spent about $28,976 of that $100,000 grant money out there right now. That's as of March. So,
Are we indicating to those coming in for permits that there's funds available for this kind of stuff? I mean, we don't really see a good take rate on these grants, and
no, I agree with you. That's something we probably should
put some announcements out or something that there's funding available and people should step up.
Yeah, I mean, we could pass that along to Valerie,
or even put it on our website or send it out on one of those Civic Plus notes or something, because we're trying to get things improved around here, and
correct.
And here's money on the table that could be used to clean up a lot of things. And it's unfortunate people aren't coming in. So if you're listening, looks like almost
And nothing
30 grand, 32,000 or 72,000 available.
There's some in the works, I know.
Yeah, I know there's some commercial.
Yeah.
It doesn't show until we actually cut the check on my site. So I do know there's a couple of commercial. I think they're $10,000 or maybe a little 20,000.
One is 20.
Yeah.
It was signed off on. I can't remember what the other one was.
Yeah, but as far as the residential, I mean, we should be 6 months into the year. We should be a little further, especially after all the damage and stuff like that. So,
And what I'd like to see is 100 grand starting. We've got applications equal to 60 grand. We've deployed 40 grand. We've got, the rest of the story, so that you see that there's something available. There could be, there's still money on the table. And every year that I've been here for the last 7 years, we've exited the year with money on the table. So somehow we're not connecting with the community. That message needs to go forward.
I agree with you.
Perfect.
So maybe we do when they come in for a permit, we do
I don't know where the problem is. I know that it's a problem. Communication typically is where the problem's at. So,
But we'll make sure at the next CRA meeting they have that presentation.
Yep. Some things to go forward on. One of those things that I've been a big proponent on is salaries. All right, so going forward in this budget season, that's one thing we'll be looking at, making sure that we're not paying minimum wage and things like that, and just making sure that we're paying people, where they need to be. Of course, that's all going to be part of the budget process and things like that. That's some things we're going to look at. Also, to make it a little easier, we're going to be budgeting line items that make sense. Right now, we have a bunch of stuff that's being poured into professional services. It really isn't professional services. We have budget lines for all these things. We're just not, using them the way we should. So this budget year, you'll see there's going to be a lot more operational lines in there than there has been, because, doing, fixing brakes on the, fire truck shouldn't be a professional service. It should be maintenance. Not that y'all do that. I'm just saying. So some of that stuff doesn't make any sense. So when you're trying to see where your money is going, it's not, it's easier to see it that way. And we have the outsourcing of payroll. I'm working with ADP on that right now to try to get that implemented as soon as possible. But it's going to be about a 2-month process to get it there. So that's coming. And also our new software. I've been doing software. I've been what's the word I'm looking for? Looking at software, about 4 of them altogether. So, but with the payroll and other things that are coming up, I've kind of put it on the back burner, but it's really a really important thing to do, because even trying to get the information out to this ADP, the information they need from us, we can't get from one source of reports. I have to cut and paste and put them all together and stuff like that. So our system is really just antiquated and outdated, and especially with not only payroll, but with our accounting functions as well. This morning, just for instance, we have a PO out there for the grant for the Life Pack for $70,000. It won't let us pay it because it doesn't recognize it as an accounts payable. It put it into a different line, and it's frustrating because we can't write the check. We're going to fix it, but it's just antiquated system. And some other things that are going on. So we have decided to cut back our utility billing down to just 2 people. And so make one of those, instead of getting rid of it, we're going to make one of those people a purchasing clerk, which is exactly what we need here in the city. Right now, some of the departments do their own purchasing, but we need a centralized purchasing person so that we make sure that we are spending the money the right way and where it's going and all that kind of stuff. And that way, it takes it off of the departments as well. And we have this one person that can do that for us. And I'll give you a little heads up on the red light camera. That was a kind of a source of contention last year. As of March 25, we had made about $665,147 on a budget of $1.6 million. So right now, as of March, we had $995,000 left to receive in. If my math is correct, doing that for the next 6 months, we should be pulling in about $138,000, and that probably isn't happening. I think we had one good month there, so we're just not pulling it in like we should. So that's definitely something we'll have to look at again during budget season.
What you're saying is the red light camera revenue side that was budgeted at 1.6 is way under running.
It is about $10,000 a month, give or take. I mean, so we've been averaging about 120
grand a year.
120, yeah. So we're doing about 101 on the red light cameras, and then another 25 grand, give or take, on the county side of it. So we're running about 125. But to catch up and get where we need to be, we're looking at about 138,000. But I think we're going to be more like 1.3 million by the time it's
from the previous year when that was looked at. Some of that was attributable to the fact that they were aging off and uncollectible.
Right.
Do we have a record of what that looks like?
Yeah, so I believe we've been having monthly meetings on that. So we've come up with some ideas on how to collect. So a lot of that, so I correct me if I'm wrong, but we're somewhere around 65% collection rate.
So not exactly what he's asking. So the ones that were not processed, they are processing them all now.
Right.
The ones that can be processed, and there's always a number that just
for some reason you can't read what.
Yeah. Or it's a police car going through there, a sheriff's vehicle going through the lights and sirens, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's right. I mean, there's I'm trying to think of the word that they use, but there's uncontrollable or something, I think is the word. So that part has been rectified, but it's just there are less tickets being written,
which is a good thing.
Which is exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. It's supposed to encouraging the right behavior, which is what we want.
Well,
right?
I'm not going to be here and say that we're actually encouraged or the right behavior is being encouraged. It could just be people are driving differently today than they were 3 years ago. Because, I mean, there's been a decline. There was a peak and a decline. I'm going to guess that if you play this out 10 more years, there's going to be another peak and there'll be another decline.
Okay.
And as we talked about the last when we were going through the budget, we need to come up with a number that we say, okay, this is the expected every year, and it may be 1.1 million.
Right.
And so you build the budget based upon $1.1 million worth of revenue, and if you get more money in, that goes into we buy another police car, or we do another road, or we do something, whatever we can spend that money on related to that. But again, I think there appears to be peaks and valleys in this, because there was a build up to where we went, and then now it's starting to go back down again. And those things usually have a cycle that will go back up at some point in the future.
Right. Yes. And all I was trying to establish was, have we rectified the process so we are looking at the right stuff in a timely manner so it doesn't age off and when it becomes uncollectible, which was the issue.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's been fixed. And then the next thing is we've seen a decline in red light tickets.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because, they got a law enforcement trailer sitting there flashing lights. Hey, you're going too fast. People slow down, paying attention. So whatever it is, back out $500,000 out of the budget.
I will say that there was attempts in this legislative session to do away with red light cameras.
Yeah,
That's something to bring up, that we probably need to decouple ourselves from that revenue source.
Right.
Fast.
So that would be something to think about.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of money to lose out of the general fund. Then.
There is. That's coming.
Well, we could flip it over to the speeding tickets like they do out of Paris, right?
Right. Yeah, they get a good system over there.
They just keep mailing tickets.
You keep paying them, they keep mailing to you.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? I'm done. That was under 15 minutes.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Get more stuff.
Just wanted to say thank you to everyone, to council. You know, it's in the short time that I was here, there was a lot of different councils. It seemed like, but you know, I respect everyone that chooses to run for election and do these things that you guys do. It's not always the best. Sometimes you're blindsided and you have to handle things in a way that is befitting for what comes before you. It takes a lot. I respect that. And, you know, believe it or not, I always learn from each and every one of you that I have had time with. You may not know that, but I do, and I appreciate those lessons that I learned and the way you go about doing your business. So thank you for all you've done to support me in the last 18 months or so. And it's something that I definitely will take with me for the rest of my life, as you know, with any city that I work with. You know, the staff is a great staff that you have. You know, everyone here sees themselves as a small city, but what they do is not a small city. And I think as a council, you should be proud of what they do on a daily basis, because again, they're doing the workload of a lot larger city than what you think you represent right now. And they give it their all. There's very few times that I've thought, and believe me, in my almost 32 years as a manager, I've wondered about people and the efforts that they give. But there hasn't been a time here that I've looked at any of our staff and said, you know, you can do more, because they're doing a lot on a daily basis. And, you know, as Mr. Thompson said about looking at the pay, you know, we, and I'm thinking of one particular employee in the finance department who has, you know, through all the ups and downs of the hiring process and changes in utility billing, was there and was always there. And it's someone that you know, we're trying to put in the right pay range, but was basically making a little bit more than minimum wage for us. And you know, our ability to do what Adam talked about in terms of going from 3 people doing billing to 2 people, which, you know, is something that probably should have been done a long time ago, is because of people like her that, you know, shoulder a little bit more responsibility without being asked to shoulder that responsibility. And you know, that compact that we should have with our employees is, if you're doing outstanding things, we should be giving you a pay and benefit package that befits that. Again, there's some limitations here. You know, our budget is not a big city budget by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, the level of benefit that residents are receiving from our employees and what they do is a lot higher than paying someone $50, 50, 60, whatever it was an hour. And the reality is, minimum wage is going up every year, and you don't want to be that city that you know, gets dinged because you're paying less than what minimum wage is.
People leave.
And so, you know, you can expect more, you can do more, but you have to reward the employee base to do that. And I think, you know, the people you have working for you are worth it. And then, you know, the last thing from the residents, you know, we have a lot of great residents here, a lot of great businesses, you know, worked with a lot of them. And again, there's a great future waiting for the city of Port Richey. There's a lot of work to do to get there, though. And, you know, the residents, keeping them engaged and doing things, you know, like the wayfinding and branding and engaging them in that will help build that camaraderie that you need in a growing community to keep it moving forward, and engaging our business community as much as possible is very important. So please don't stop doing that, because when you stop doing that, what's going to happen is the city will start tearing itself apart, and you don't want that. So, thank you, all of you, and I appreciated everything over the last 18 months, and look forward to hearing great things about the city of Port Richey.
Well, I want to thank you for coming here and helping us out. You set the standard for what a city manager should be in the city. And I like to think that we've become friends since you've been here.
It started out lucky.
You've taught me a lot. Well, I did warn you. I'm coming up to see you this summer. I'm going to find out where you live. So it's not getting off that easy. So you've been warned. But yeah, I do appreciate everything, and I'm happy that you've made yourself more valuable, and you're going to be going someplace you're going to be happy and enjoying life the way you should. And congratulations, and we do appreciate you very much, Matt. Thank you.
Certainly.
Yep. No regrets at all. Like I said, the short time I had you, it's been a pleasure. So glad you're moving on. Thank you. Okay. Next up, comments from boards and committees. I'll start. The Centennial Committee met this afternoon, and we're winding that down. Obviously, we don't have an exact number left, but I think we got to the tune of around $7,000 left in the budget. We're going to do some recognition for our sponsors, plaques or whatever. So we scheduled our next meeting on July 15th to kind of close everything up and wind that committee down. I'll go ahead and bring it up here. I was going to say for my comments at the end, but since it's around boards and committees, so obviously I chair that committee. The purpose of it was to do centennial events and represent the city. What I talked to the committee about, and I'd like to see, is we continue doing things from an event perspective, marketing perspective. And so I want to, again, don't want to talk about it necessarily tonight, but just kind of plant the seed. I really like to, as we close that committee down, look at opening another committee and calling it a marketing event planning committee, where their sole focus is to look at bring in the sponsorships to sponsor events. And I just give you a couple examples. Obviously, the Mayor's Ball, we held that. I think it'd be great to have an event like that in the city that benefits charity, and put that on. The car show, the fishing tournament, and even some other things. Look at what's a good fit, when to do it, coordinate, but have a committee to kind of that be their focus is to do that. Originally, I thought when I was on the CAC back before I got elected that the CAC could kind of do that. I don't think there was appetite there. They kind of have another focus. So I really think we need to look at another committee to really focus on that, because it brings community together. We can do some great things from that perspective as we benefit charities and whatnot. So I think that's something we should look forward to continuing. Is there any objections to that?
Great idea.
Okay. So I don't know, Nancy, if you could maybe look into seeing what we need to do to obviously wind down the Centennial and look at bring up another committee to move forward with that.
I don't know if you had any discussion with the people that were on that committee have any interest in extending.
Yeah. So I did, and I generally brought it up first as a repurposing of that committee, but we decided we need to wind that one down, and then once we put together whatever it's the same number or whatever, we can kind of model it after that, obviously. But then they would reapply if they were interested.
Gotcha.
And of course, we'd have to still see, do we want to open that up outside the city and all those things that logistically have to happen. So I'm glad you're all on board with that. I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for the city. Any other boards, committees that are here to? Yeah. Okay. Moving on to consent agenda, item number 2. I do have a comment on that. Get to it. So the $20,000 payment amount to Pyro Production for the fireworks show, it shows original budget $20,000, year to date $20,000, but there's a remaining budget of negative $5,000. What does that negative $5,000 represent?
Right. On page 8.
Yeah, page 8 of the packet.
So on the line item, so that's where we took all the items out of. So when you look at it, we only budgeted $40,000. So yeah, we only budgeted $40,000. The Centennial's money has not been actually appropriated to that line item yet, so it's going to be negative $40,000. I mean, it's going to be negative $5,000, and it's going to be negative the other amounts we put in there as well.
Well, if you says original budget $20,000, we spent year to date $20,000.
That
which
line
would be
item,
a zero remaining budget.
that line item you're looking at, I don't have my thing in front
It's
of me.
account 119-479.
479. That's what we put everything from the Centennial into that. That's city events. So everything that we did for the in Centennial is being paid out of that line. So after we put that $20,000 charge in there and everything else, it left it negative $5,000. It's not.
So it's more than just the fireworks?
It's more than just the fireworks in there.
Well, okay.
In
That's
that
very
line item.
confusing.
In that line item.
Okay.
That's very confusing.
Very.
And essentially what you're saying is we budgeted 40,000. So really the original budget was 40,000, but you've incurred another 25,000 in other things that you're not showing here that gives you the delta of that -5.
Let me try. So the appropriation was 40,000.
Okay.
So what this is saying is that out of that line item, they've spent $45,041. With this one, it puts it to that. What they haven't brought forward is the additional revenue, which I thought was a lot more than 5,000, right?
It's 53,000.
Yeah. So the budget hasn't been amended yet to reflect the increase, A, the increase in the revenues, or B, the increase in the expenditure. So right now it's overspent by $5,041.
And so in reality, there was only $10,000 that came out of the city's general fund. Anyway, because we had about $53,000 sponsorships, of which 10,000 was the city.
No.
There was $40,000 in that line item that we appropriated for city events.
Here's what's missing. It says original budget of 20.
Yes.
That was for this line item. There's another 20,000 of other things that are not reflected here, even though it says original budget. Original budget was 40.
You should have put 40,000 in there, yeah.
Right.
So we're not looking at the whole thing. But at the end of the day, what they're saying is we've spent 5,000 more than what we have budgeted. Irrespective of what the revenue is, it's not even being considered on this.
Well, it doesn't matter. This $20,000 is what the bill was from the fireworks.
Yeah, this one. And for $20,000, we got our bang for the buck.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Let's leave it at that and move on. Good. But I do have.
But I want people to understand what that, because we didn't spend technically $20,000.
Well, let's just say from what I'm looking at here, I can't understand it either. But
yeah, it should have been different. I apologize.
That's fine.
She sent that over. So that's my bad.
With the Pasco Utilities line, the Home Depot, and that's another thing. Why do we have a Home Depot sewer? We don't have any sewer in our city. We get Pasco. We don't have a sewer plant.
We have sewer. We just dump into another system.
Okay.
Which is
so
what
it's a really lift station. But why are we paying somebody for the privilege of dumping our stuff into their system? Is that
They clean it. They clean it for us. Yes.
Oh, they clean it.
They clean it for us. Yeah. So we every lift station goes to a wastewater. No.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the one that they bill for us, and we have to pay them. Right out there.
If I'm correct, that this is just basically when it says Home Depot, that's just the location of that particular master meter. But that's the one that we pay for Pasco County to treat our sewer going out in that direction.
That's an outflow point.
That's outflow.
All right.
So it gets processed.
So are we underrunning or overrunning on that? Looks like I think we're underrunning, right?
Yeah. I think we're kind of getting back in the habit where he's not billing as often as he should.
Okay.
On that. So we called him last week. I'm waiting on the point back, but yeah, he's not billing correctly.
And that was March also. So what happened to April and May?
So I'm saying he's not,
Same thing.
Yeah, he's not billing.
Kind of like what's going on in Newport Ridge with that other deal. So you're working that out.
Yeah, we're calling him because we're not getting consistent billing.
All right. Then on the fuel, this is what city fuel for. What is that? Is that fire department?
That's for everybody. The WEX on there, the city fuel should be every department.
Every department, they got a credit card. They go to some place and get fuel.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, that's every department.
I just didn't know. Okay.
It says multi-account.
Yeah. Unless there are any questions, is there a motion?
I got a question.
Sure.
So Adam,
in my company, I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody else, but in my company, 43 employees, we had massive fuel theft. And it took a while for us to discover it, you know, and some of them got away with it for years. What do we have here to keep a tight realm on the fuel?
Well, the Wex cards, you know, you have to put in a number so we can actually see when you're actually there. So it'll say 10 o'clock. So, I mean, really, we should be looking at that. I don't know that we do that, but
Mileage.
yeah,
Mileage is,
An employee.
mileage is entered and employee number is entered every time they get gas. So
and that really should be correlated back to their on shift times. You know what I'm saying? So if you're out getting gas on
Do we
Saturday,
ever audit that? Does anybody ever audit that? And the only way we caught is we audited it. We had given everybody cards, and we were like trusting everybody, and then we did an audit. And we caught lots of people stealing gas from us.
I would defer
I'm not
that.
accusing
No, I
employees
know
of stealing gas. It's just on my mind because I went through it myself.
We would have to defer to department heads. I mean, if they felt that they had a problem in a particular area to do that, I mean, we can audit it across the board.
How about
But
spot
until-
auditing? How
I'm
about
just saying
take a
until
little spot auditing? How about looking at the cameras, just pick a little period of time, you know, and just spot audit it and see if you have a problem with that spot audit. Mileage, who's doing it, all that stuff.
when you say video from the gas station itself, or
Well, you said there's timestamps and stuff, right? You can
Yeah.
look at it live. Are you looking at it through a camera? No.
no, we're not looking at it. We don't go to the gas stations to gather their footage. No.
Okay.
Well, do we have an account with a certain gas station to get a discount for quality, quantity?
No, Wex covers several different companies, a gas station, 7-Eleven, the other, I don't know.
With our new payroll
other
company, we're
companies.
able to keep track on duty and off duty, and it's easier to keep track of the fuel usage that way too.
well, there will be a schedule. So
Right.
we in theory can go back and look.
There you go.
Spot audit. We can do that. Now, if it's out of whack, like you know, but it usually runs about $9,000 when it's 10 or 13,000. Me and Marie, my finance clerk, we do sit down and look at it. I mean, of course, I don't know who all's on duty and stuff, but you know, we make sure that you know they're kind of in line. Like you know, you're using. I mean, but as far as auditing, I don't, and we can do that.
So if I could, I'll arrange back in this consent agenda. We're just looking for the ability to pay these bills. And so obviously there's great questions about procedure and what we do as far as keeping an eye on our fuel usage. I think that's an item that we should maybe talk about, another agenda item.
Let me just leave one thought.
Sure.
Year to date, we spent 76 grand. That averages for 6 months. That's about 12,000 a month. They're asking for the 10, so they're actually underrunning what an average would be. So it looks like it's in line. So
We've been down a couple months. 9,000, I think, a month prior.
Motion to
Fuel's
approve the
dropped too.
consent agenda for
Okay.
May
Is there a
22nd.
second?
second.
Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing that, put the vote on in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Did we want to have a discussion about that later?
About what?
About fuel and procedures on how to?
No,
Okay.
No.
that's up to them.
I think that we should have that as something as a city we look at, just auditing, period. You know, we should
Agreed.
have an auditing
Should audit everything.
auditor.
That's a
We should
process.
audit everything so we all know what's going on.
That's a process and procedures that should be addressed.
Right. Well,
Yeah. Why don't we? If
You asked, I'm telling you. So
yeah, no, I think it's worthy of discussion. Why don't we on a future agenda we just talk about
get
maybe
payroll
just
set up.
present to us what the process is, and so we can take a look at that.
Okay.
Just for knowledge purposes. Okay. Next up, we got a few public hearings. Item number 3, first reading of ordinance number 25-732, repealing ordinance 96. What?
I was going to ask if you could move one of these items up.
Okay. Go ahead.
I would like to move the item about the 3-hour meeting number 11 up to now so that we can be under whatever we decide and we can continue to work toward a 9 o'clock goal.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
I'm making a motion.
I'll
Well,
second
I'm
it.
just asking him if we can. Do we need a motion for
If
that?
the council's desires do that, we sure can do that.
I would like to make a motion to move number 11 up to now so that we can see if we want to vote on that to keep us within the 3-hour meeting time limit.
Okay.
A second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Okay, we'll take up item number 11. Is now number 3. Approval of resolution number 25-31, setting a policy to end regular city council meetings at 9 p.m. and providing for effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
At the last meeting, there was a conversation regarding putting end time to the meetings at 9 p.m. City attorney has prepared the resolution that makes the end time, except with vote of council to extend it, 9 p.m.
Okay. So I'll open the floor up to motion and discussion. Let me just start. We talked about this last meeting, and I'm going to share my screen. So I took the liberty of just going out the last year on the duration of the council meetings by the YouTube stamp on there. So I'm assuming that's fairly accurate, the meetings. And I pointed out the time frames and how many went past 9 p.m. and also made some notes on why they may or may not have. So a couple things I want to point out. I'm not a fan of this. I would not be a fan of if I went to my employer and said, I really would like to work 6-hour days. I'm employed to do a job, and if it takes longer to do that job, it takes longer. If I'm not as efficient, I should work on my efficiency, get there. But there's certain things that I can do to do that. I'd like to point out that council has the ability at any time to table things if we see we're running behind, and we can do that on certain things that we maybe could push off. I think putting an arbitrary time of 9 o'clock puts us in a position like this is a perfect example of, we spent the first hour and 10 minutes, we just got through the department presentation, which takes time. Public comment plays in there. And so putting an arbitrary time frame on the ability of us to do the city business is just a bad idea, in my opinion. But if you look at the data I have here, down at the bottom, over the course of the year, the average meeting time is 2 hours and 20 minutes, which would take us to 8:20. So our average time in here were about 2.5 hours, okay? And that was factored in. There was 2 meetings that was canceled at 0. Okay, and we cancel a meeting, that puts that much more on the next meeting. And so, but if I back those out, it's still at 2 hours and a half is our average time. So if you look at, we've got, I think, 7 meetings in the past year that went over, and one of them just a smidge over 9 o'clock. The last 2, being the most recent, we had city manager stuff we had to talk about. So that had been something we had to extend anyway. It was, we just had a lot on the agenda. Plus, we had to talk about how we replace Matt. And we had several public comments about interim city manager. And we also had about using the logo on the Centennial Rum. Several public comment was put in there. And then the meeting before that, you'll see there was public comment. And utilities presentation took us to the first hour before we could even conduct business. And then we had a lengthy conversation about city manager, form of government, because again, we talked about replacing city manager and what we're going to do going forward. So there was hefty communication around that, and I want to encourage that. We can't call each other behind the scenes and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" This is the time that we do that, and you have to take the time to have those discussions. I can be a little more facilitative, as I did. We were talking about consent agenda. There were several questions. We kind of got sidetracked. Try to rein you back in. Can definitely do more than that. We really need to police ourselves on our comments and when we're talking about certain things. And if we see something we want to have an in-depth discussion about, say, hey, can we bring this up, put this on the agenda, get it on there, and try to do that.
We have the ability to extend. I don't really see why it's an issue, because we're trying to set a goal. We are holding ourselves to a standard, and if we're looking at 9 o'clock as a deadline, realizing that we can extend. If there's an important issue, I have no problem extending, but we ought to set our own standard and try to achieve that. I'm making a motion.
I agree with Dave. Because
I want to talk.
Well, I started.
If you want your motion, you can take motion.
I did.
No, which is
You have a motion?
I made a motion.
To start the meeting, yeah.
Well, we've amended the agenda, so we haven't got a motion on the agenda item yet. So if there's a motion,
I thought we were discussing the agenda.
We are. We had a motion and a second. It carried to amend the agenda to talk about number 11 now. We're here.
And I made a motion to
There's been no
approve
motion yet.
number 11.
Now there's a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
Yeah, there is further discussion. You know, I ran for this position to serve my city. Okay, I find it extremely difficult and frustrating to be able to conduct enough business during this time here, because you can't talk out there or they'll handcuff you and lock you up. Okay, so when we come in here, all of a sudden, I'm telling all those voters who just voted for me, hey, listen, by the way, we're on my time, buddy. Okay, we're closing at 9 o'clock. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right of any of us on here at all. I mean, I understand there's a commitment that comes along with sitting here and arguing it out on this time, but this is the time to do it. There's nowhere else to do it. Where else are we going to do it?
But we can
Well,
extend.
there's a lot of times to do it.
One at a time.
Look up there.
Well, you asked the question.
There's 7 times in a 12-month period.
8. Forgot that one.
One of them was over by a couple minutes,
7.
Dave. My point is only 7 times in the last year.
The 9 o'clock shouldn't be a problem.
So why is it a problem?
I did miss one.
The 9 o'clock shouldn't be a problem. And as far as like the special times, like hurricane,
Yeah.
and you have a city manager, those are hopefully rare occasions. We can set up according to Ashley's and the manager's schedule, maybe start at 5 o'clock or have a town hall meeting to discuss those things outside these meetings.
We can set up more meetings, that's for sure.
That's true. And if
Is that the goal
it's
here?
convenient for us to do, and it's convenient for the city manager and actually put those together, we can start maybe at 5 o'clock like we have a city manager. We'll set aside a meeting, like a town hall meeting for that. And we'll get that all hashed out. And I'm meeting with both these guys tomorrow at 3:30. When I see the agendas, I usually know what's on the agenda before they come to my email. So when I come in here, we need to discuss those things. Everybody's got some ideas, but we should have already discussed that with the city manager, and we can have the city manager and department heads together discuss those things before we even come to the meeting. And that's efficiency, and that's understanding what the agendas are before they come into the meeting. And that's letting these guys go home so they can do their job the next day. I don't want to be selfish and keep these guys here till 10 o'clock. We do have special things to do. We should have meetings for those, like the city manager shouldn't have been discussed all at one night. And it needs to be discussed, but if we had like that date, we set it for the daytime to interview them. We should have a meeting set aside to hash that out, what we decided to do as far as the city manager. On a separate meeting. Those special occasions should be set up as special times. That's why I feel about it. I think because meetings are over usually in 2-3 hours, 9 o'clock is plenty of time to get this done out and talk about and discuss these agendas.
No, I agree.
And we can extend it. It says
If we
it
have
right there.
to,
We
if we have
can.
to, yes.
And I agree too. If most of them are going 2.5 hours, then there shouldn't be any problem going to 9. What I would really like to see is not getting off our agenda and not going on and on and on about something. With a 9 o'clock stop in our heads, we won't do that. And we'll actually probably get more business done.
You call the city manager tomorrow. I'm setting up a meeting. You can't do it at the same time, really, but you talk to Nancy, you talk to Matt, and talk to them about what you want to do, and they'll tell you how we can do this a lot more efficiently under the Sunshine Law, which I don't agree with it. It reminds me of gun laws in these big cities where you're not allowed to have guns, where people getting killed by guns all the time. It's kind of the same kind of thing, but I understand why they have it at the same time. But there's ways to get things done around those things properly. And you got to meet with the city manager and the city attorney, get them. What do you think, Matt? You're looking around.
Well, I just want to be clear that we don't find ways around the Sunshine Law.
Right. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah,
We're not
I'm surprised she didn't come out of her seat.
It's getting things done according to.
We don't work around it.
Right.
We work within it.
Yeah, but
Thank you, Matt. That's why I love you, Matt.
So if I could close my thought before I got interrupted. So obviously there was the data. I'm gonna say just a couple things. We just went to a ballot with a pay raise for the council that passed overwhelmingly, I might add. And what I see as a member of the public and that is the very one of the very first things we do is now we're telling them that we're not going to work past 9. And I think that's a big slap in the face to people that invested in this council.
That's not what
Well,
we're
it is
saying.
what we're saying.
No,
So,
it's not.
No?
Let him have his turn, one at a time.
so there's that, right? Again, there are lots of things that we should do as individuals when we get the agenda. We should reach out to city manager to get the information that we don't have to get that here and rehash that. Follow the agenda. Again, we can put an arbitrary time frame on it, and we can constantly be watching the clock to try to hit that. But what I would rather do is focus on the job at hand. And if we need to take a little time, we're not worried about coming up against the clock. That's just my opinion. And again, it goes back to, the public is happy with us. They see we're doing good work. They're paying us for it. And all I see is this is now we're telling them that, thanks for the pay raise. We want to get out here at 9 o'clock. So I would just end with that. And if anybody else has anything, I'm happy to hear
I
you.
just think the people would like to see the police chief awake on Wednesday mornings.
Yeah. Oh, no, let me add one more thing. I'm glad you brought that up. So I am all about staff not having to be on the clock all the time. And I think there's things we can do from a comp time perspective or whatever to compensate these folks for their time. I totally get that. So that's a very valid point, keeping staff here longer than need be, because that's a totally different thing. Totally agree with that. But I think we can handle that with comp time, that they can come in late the next day or whatever we need to do to compensate them for that. 100% on board with that.
We have special meetings, and I think we need to utilize those.
And I will tell you, I will be calling them if we're not getting city business done with, because we're getting out here at 9 o'clock.
And
I'll be
I'm
calling
all for
special
that.
meetings on the off Tuesday.
We got a pay raise, and I'm all for that. I'm willing to work.
I just caution you that's just changing the number of days you're going to be here instead of staying a little longer on certain
Well,
days.
that's up to city manager and you and Ashley's schedule to work it out where we can be here, hopefully, and do those. But yes.
As a homeowner and as a taxpayer in the city, I do not agree. Forget about my council seat. I'm just talking about if I'm sitting over there. I don't agree that we're cutting ourselves at 9 o'clock and we're required to talk about everything in here. Sure, I can go and talk to Matt and all this stuff, but just like we've discovered, you've got one opinion, I've got another. We're trying to hammer that up. That's what they voted us in here for, to represent their interest and to hammer those things out. And now we're cutting it at 9 o'clock, and the mayor's proved very few times these guys have been asked to stay over. Very few times, and some of them almost just a few minutes.
And I don't want to get to the point where we're asking them to come back again on another Tuesday to have another hour or two meeting because we couldn't finish stuff up. I mean, I think from a staff perspective, I'd rather stay a little extra, finish it up, as opposed to coming in another day.
Well, we can vote on that.
Yeah, when I call a special meeting, it's a special meeting, just so you know. It's not up to anybody else. I call a special meeting for whatever I want. And 2 council members can do the same thing. So I will finish city business. And I don't want to have to do that. And I'm very respectful of people's time. And there's been a couple times I've wanted to call special meetings. But again, my focus is I'm going to get the people's work done. So.
Well, and that's our intent all along. We have the ability to extend. And the point is if it's important enough, we will. And if it's not, we can table it and move on.
Right.
The point is this keeps us in a guideline and a focus so that we're trying to achieve that. And we're just belaboring the point.
Sure. I'll call the question. Is there any other comments? Public comment? Seeing none, I'll put to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Next up, we have some public hearings. Let me get back to my... Okay. Item number 3, which is now 4. First reading of ordinance number 25-732, repealing ordinance 96-768 and providing for an effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
Yeah, so this is the first step in the vacation of Bridge Street. As council remembers from our discussion at the last meeting, back in 1996, council adopted a ordinance 96-468 that set aside a portion of Bridge Street for pedestrian use only and kind of a public space concept there. And so based upon the fact that council was supportive of vacating that, we need to take the first action in thinking down the next meeting. When you do the public hearing and do that, you need to repeal this first and then do the vacation of Bridge Street. And so this is the first step in that vacation.
Okay, you need to read by title.
Yes. Ordinance 25-732, an ordinance for the city of Port Richey, Florida, repealing ordinance 96-468 and providing for an effective date. I will let you know there is a typo on the second whereas paragraph at the very end. Bridge is spelled incorrectly. I will fix that before, should this pass, I'll fix that before it comes back.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open a public hearing. If the public like to speak, I have no sign-ups. Show of hands. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'll open up council for a motion or discussion.
I'll move to approve the first reading of ordinance 25-732 to repeal the ordinance of 96-468.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Further discussion?
Yes, this is the area known as Pride of Port Richey, that green space there.
Yeah, correct.
And by doing this, it eliminates that part that we've set aside, right?
Well, it's not a park. It's a pedestrian-only public space.
Public space.
Right.
And this repeals that. The next one would allow that right of way to be vacated, which that is part of that's actually part of the right of way. Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Put the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next up, item number 5, first reading of ordinance number 25-733, vacating a portion of the city's right-of-way on Bridge Street, providing for conditions and providing for an effective date. And it's my understanding that there is a legal description amendment to this, and I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for explanation.
Yeah, so this is the actual vacation of Bridge Street, the right of way on that. As the mayor indicated, as we were looking through this again, we noticed that there was a reference to Bayview, and the intent is not to vacate that area of Bayview. The applicant came forward with a redefined legal description that takes out any reference to Bayview, and so this takes it directly just vacation of Bridge Street.
Okay, you read by title.
Yeah, got on.
Okay. So I'll open the public hearing. Is there any comments from public? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Close the public hearing. I'm opening up council motion or discussion.
Make a motion, we approve the amendment.
Second.
As stated.
Okay, motion second.
And can you make
Any
a motion, the motion to approve with the amended legal description?
Correct.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Ed?
Now, this only addresses the roadway.
The right of way.
So at this, the right of way would go all the way to the water.
So this will be only the section, because Bridge Street actually goes on the other side, right? So this is
The north
just,
side.
yeah, the north side, the other side of the river.
So everything north of the river,
Correct.
including that strip we just talked about.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you go from the embankment all the way to Bayview.
Any other discussion?
And with that strip that we just talked about in the previous one, that would just go away, become their property. It would change the use. It would become their property, move to the tax rolls.
Yep.
Private property, people can't have access anymore. They're predominantly, I don't know if it's even
We're vacating a
buildable.
public use.
Right. I'm not even sure it's buildable, but okay. Gotcha.
Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 6, first reading of ordinance number 25-734, amending Chapter 36, Article 5, Section 36-162, and Section 36-163 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to modify the roadways upon which golf carts can operate within the city and removing repetitive subsections, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
Get there. So this is based upon the discussion of where golf carts can go. So this was, I think, 2 meetings ago, last meeting. They just almost kind of blend together anymore. I don't know why. And the ordinance that's attached will effectively allow golf carts to go on any city streets as long as they meet the criteria set, which effectively reflects what the state code says related to allowing golf carts on that. The second piece is it also, again, goes back to what the state language is on the equipment that is required to be on said golf cart to go on those streets.
So I read by title. It's good. Okay. Any public comment? I'm going to open a public hearing. Close the public hearing. Bring it back for council discussion and a
I
motion.
just wonder if there's any requirement, like any signage requirements, or just
So the only requirement under the state statute is we're supposed to put a sign up on the street where golf carts are allowed.
we are?
Yes.
And have we looked at the cost of that?
Should be in your
Didn't actually know. I didn't think about that cost. It didn't cross my mind.
Not a big deal, probably, but I was
Yeah, I
curious.
mean it's gonna be maybe a couple $1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
We're putting these information signs up.
I will say that you don't have that signage now on the streets where you can drive it. You have it in some streets.
Some, but
I
not
know
all.
we don't. And
Yeah.
that's one. But we're putting up these signs as like identifying
Wayfinder,
historical-
wayfinding.
right.
Yeah.
Can we incorporate golf cart signs with those?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. I mean, I
That'd be
think
good.
that's actually one of the things that we addressed, not actually the signage, but one of the things that we addressed with the consultant doing the Safe Streets for All is that we need to be thinking not just cars and trucks and pedestrians and bicycles, but also golf carts. And so that process will kind of feed into what we need to do with all the wayfinding and signage as well.
So there is a requirement that we put signs on every road that golf carts. Is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me here. I don't think.
And so my follow-up question is, because like parking signs, we can't enforce it unless we put the signs up, no parking in City Street, even though that's an ordinance. The next question I was going to ask is on our sign coming into the city, if we were to incorporate all streets golf cart friendly, would that?
Well,
Golf cart friendly area.
That's not accurate because you have Ridge Road where they're not.
And you
allowed.
got 19.
Yeah.
Does it,
Oh,
have,
yeah.
does it have to look a specific way? There's no requirement exactly what it has to
Yeah,
say.
I'm-
It could just be a strip
If-
that says golf
if it-
carts allowed.
Posted speed limit has to be under 35.
Give me.
Right, but I'm saying, could it just say golf carts allowed, or does it have to be a, you know?
I think it'd just be that golf cart picture, like that one next to it, just has.
Yeah,
next
the
to it.
yellow sign with the golf cart.
Okay.
With golf bag on the back.
Yeah.
Maybe chocolate.
Chopper, do you mind coming to the podium?
I think it's up to this guy over here on the side who does
I was going to see.
so.
I didn't know if you guys had some kind of signage that you guys use
We
for
have signs in town. It's all handled by our
Public Works. Deals with it.
So the chief can give it Public Works maybe and
So-
bring something to
Yeah, I
us.
think we need to figure that out.
Yeah, with the Wayfarer hopefully incorporated.
So maybe we need to create a line item in the budget for 25, 26 for signage.
Yeah, well, that's,
I'm just giving Adam a heads up.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm just thinking we're trying to become more golf cart friendly right now. This Wayfinder thing might take some time to get rolled out. And $1,000 of the signs right now to get people driving around having a good time in our city is probably a cheap investment for us. I think we roll with this, and then if we need to let them know what we've done on the wayfinding thing, we can let them know where we put these signs. But I think we need to get going on it.
Sounds like a motion to approve. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Could you state that for me?
I'll make a motion to approve the line item number 6 as stated.
Second.
Motion second for discussion. Matt, you got
And then, yeah, I finally got the state statute put up. So upon its determination that golf carts may be operated on a given road, the department shall post appropriate signs on the road to indicate that such operation is allowed.
the chief of police have any objections to this?
No, and I'm just looking at the manual for uniform traffic control device. And it pretty much just says that as long as they're 30 by 30, and it warns motorists that there's going to be golf carts on the roads too, so they know. It's more for a warning for the motorists.
Does that indicate how often you have to have a sign repeat?
No, I would say one thing. It's like if you go back by Big Boulevard and Old Post, you probably need one because it's one way in, one way out, compared to other roads where you have different progressive areas to come in and out of.
You know,
And conversely, if they're not allowed,
Yeah. Yes.
Although it doesn't say you don't have to do that, but I think to avoid the confusion, we probably need to, like, where we have the,
No crossing at Grant.
Yeah.
Like that.
So just to clarify, does this mean that we, like Green Street, my street, there's no sign for golf cart, it's golf cart friendly? Do we have to really put a golf cart sign
no,
there?
I think what
he
what the
said.
chief is
At the
saying is
beginning.
accurate.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At
Put
the
it on Bay,
beginning,
you're covered.
statute required.
Wow.
In fact,
So,
you haven't done it doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to not. Doesn't mean you should continue to not do it if you should do it.
right, let's just point that out that we haven't done that at all, really. So, good call out.
To get to Green Street, you've got to come down Bay Boulevard. So if you just put one on Bay
Statutes every
Boulevard,
street.
he's saying put it beyond Old Post and Bay. That way, it's a one-way in. Everything's
everything's
covered.
covered.
Yeah. But you'd need another one at the front end up by Culver's.
Yeah, well, let's just let staff figure out what
Yeah,
the signage
they gotta
requirements
figure
need
it
to be and do it as minimal as possible, obviously, so save
Okay.
costs.
Yep.
We're good.
So, any other discussion?
We got a motion? Yes, I got a couple of discussions.
Okay.
Any update on crossing 19 on the bridge? You guys were looking at that, on the bridge being a certain width.
It's in old business. DOT
Oh,
has
okay.
just approved.
No, he's talking about the bridge.
Oh, the bridge. I'm sorry.
No.
Nothing on the bridge.
Okay, and then golf cart inspections and fees. It looks like we're low on those. So we're probably not doing them. We're not following up on that. That needs to be addressed as well. And in this section on page 27, all those line items on C were struck. Is that because Florida Statute 316.271 addresses those things for inspection and seat belts and all those things? Is that the deal?
If you look at the last paragraph of that section, it talks about equipment requirements in Florida Statute 316.212, subparagraph 6.
Subparagraph 6.
It's now the subparagraph E in that section.
E, yeah,
That statute that it's referencing
includes all that.
That-
That's
it's
what I
just
was
repetitive.
wanting to know. Yeah.
So if they change it, it's automatically
Yeah,
in our
that's
code.
fine.
And there was on the whereas clause, the last two whereas clauses. I don't know if wording is important, but on the second to last, it says within the city whose speed limit. It'd probably be which. And then the last whereas clause, it says remove duplicate language, address golf cart equipment. That probably should be remove duplicate language to address golf cart equipment. Do you need an amended motion for that, or
Yes. No, not number thing.
That's
No,
okay.
no, no.
okay? Any other first discussion? All in favor, signify by saying. Oh, sorry. Any public comment? Seeing I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up is item number 7. First reading of ordinance number 25-734, amending chapter 24, article 4, section 24-180 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to change the resident requirement to Pasco County, providing for severability, providing for convocation, providing for effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Cobb for introduction.
Yes, the council discussed amending the Historic Preservation Commission to to allow non-residents to be on this board so we can get the quorum to actually meet. The discussion kind of centered around having people within Pasco County being the ones that could fill that. So the attached ordinance will do that.
Okay, and that was good. Okay, open public hearing. Any comments? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Open up for motion and discussion on council.
Motion for approval of the first reading of ordinance number 25-735, amending chapter 24, article 4, section 24-180 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to change the residency requirement to Pasco County.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
I would like to change her motion and add that the chair must be a resident to this. That way we get the right direction. So I'd like to, well, we got to vote on hers first, or
Well, no, you can ask for amendment. Are you okay with the amendment?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, cool. So
second.
amended motion is to open it up, but the chairman must be a resident of Port Richey. The only thing I'll add is if we can't fill it with a Port Richey resident, then you're back in the same thing. But I like the thought on that.
Well, yeah, I'd like to have somebody from our town, city,
But what if, like you said,
Yeah.
do we say
and we deal with that.
unless there are no?
Then we deal with it later, I
We
guess.
don't need a board. Okay, goodbye.
But I think you could probably word that to say, if a
possible,
member is a member of the city that has preference to chair.
I mean, laws one member, or just the chair definitely.
Yeah,
Is that going to be
I
substantial?
think it's possible. It's a good idea.
The change
the two people we have on
I
the
wouldn't,
both
I would
residents.
So
hesitate putting anything about preferring anybody over another person in an ordinance. If you're going to open it up, you're opening it up. If you want to make the chair a resident, I think that's fine, but I don't think you want to word it that way. I think
we'll make it that
I
way.
think you want to say open to residents of businesses or real property in Pasco County. If you want to say the chair should be a resident of the city, I think add that. I don't think you want to put in preferences. Preferences can lead to people thinking not being treated fairly.
And this could be open up to business owners as well.
Yes.
You know,
It
so at least we have, anyway, we're ready.
I mean, the good news is we've got a member who is a city resident, so we're not going to have an immediate problem.
We have two.
But exactly.
So I amend mine to say that
I do raise the question though, when we have meetings like this with our boards and committees, we have organizational meetings. So a chair and a vice chair and secretary sometimes are voted upon. So how would
they
that
are every year.
how would that be worked out? I mean, if you only have one city resident, is it automatic? How does that work?
They would have to be the chair based on that wording, right?
What if they don't want it?
Yeah, that's the problem he pointed out. I think you're putting yourself back in the same position you're already in, that you may have a resident that doesn't have the ability or the desire to be the lead for the chair, and you're not going to have a quorum again. I think that's going to create that problem.
You know, this particular committee is just about the history, preserving the history. I don't know that there's a lot of directional things. I mean, I get your point.
Yeah.
So maybe from this perspective, maybe we take that out.
Resident or resident business owner?
It's right now. It's who resides or owns businesses or real property within Pasco County.
And obviously, we're the ones that put the members on the board.
Right.
So, and obviously, if somebody comes up, I guess we can make a preference if they're a city resident to give from the way we vote, right?
Can we go with it and see how it goes?
Huh?
Can we go with it and see how it goes? See if it does what it
It's
should
not
work
working
out.
the way it is. So.
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah. So, do you want to open it up, or you want to force the chair? I mean, it's just if we do that, we have to come back and address it again if it's a problem. So,
Well, we can't.
we absolutely can. I'm good at whatever. I'm just pointing out it may cause an issue.
So we have a motion to. Did she amended a motion?
She has not.
Oh, she has not.
started. But that's not
Okay. Okay.
So, do we want to amend it or do we not?
That's up to you.
It's you're the
It's your
maker.
motion.
I'm fine with either way. So, with the amendment that the chair is a city resident.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor? I've already had public comment for public hearing, so I gave extra last time. So all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, council business, item number 8, appointment of Matt Douglas to the Historical Preservation Commission. So we almost have 2. Now we're going to have 2 possibly. So I will, Council
Can I have
Commissioner
a
Copper
meeting?
for introduction.
Why isn't he here?
Is it just had an operation?
Yeah, he just had surgery.
He just
had
had
back
surgery.
surgery.
He had back surgery yesterday.
The Historic Preservation Commission currently has one active member. Matt Douglas has requested to join the committee and assist in bringing more members to establish a full quorum to hold future meetings.
Okay.
Still have a little work to do, but this
Yep.
gets closer.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Motion or discussion on that?
Motion to approve Matt Douglas to the Historical Preservation Commission.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 9, criminal justice user agreement. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
The police department is required to enter into an agreement with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement by criminal justice user agreement terms and conditions to access and utilize criminal justice information systems. And I was going to ask the chief on this to maybe give a little bit more explanation on what this does and what they're referring to as criminal justice information system.
That's everything entered into the computer for FCIC, NCIC, people that are wanted by warrants throughout the state, and any other information, driver's license checks, everything like that that goes through our crime computers. That's confidential information.
And I think the other thing, real quick, if I'm not mistaken, it has your name as the signature for it, right?
Yes.
Right. So if you decide to approve this, which I would think you should, if you could also amend that motion to include authorizing the police chief to sign this agreement, that would be perfect.
Okay. So open to motion or discussion.
Motion to approve. Where is it? Motion to approve letting the police chief sign the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to access and utilize the criminal justice information system.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
Yes. I noticed in this body of information, there was something about license plate reader program, and it's checked no. I'm assuming we don't have one. Is that correct?
We don't have one as a user. So what that does is it gives people that have the user the ability to access the wants and warrants files of their system inside the license plate recognition readers for the owners of the vehicles.
But we're checked no on that and several other ones there. We don't have a license plate reader, so if it was checked yes, we could access it through the license plate reader.
Yes. And we have access to them through the counties, but we don't actually operate them ourselves.
Right. And I'm just wondering if that could be leveraged to somehow charge or view people parked in Nick's Park and be able to introduce that. So that might be a future thing, but it's just something to think about.
I don't think they can use that for that purpose, right? This
They-
would be for criminal.
Some agencies actually do.
For
I know the
parking
city of
violation?
Clearwater does. But that's totally different than what we're talking about here. That only gives them the access to who owns the vehicle, not actual confidential information. It's more of a public records license plate recognition reader rather than a criminal one.
Okay. Just, for clarification and myself understanding, Tarpon Springs have license plate readers down there?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So that's fine.
Anything else? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 10, approval resolution number 25-33, requiring the Historical Preservation Commission to appoint a secretary from among its members and providing for effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
Yes, the attached resolution establishes a new policy requiring the Historic Preservation Commission to annually elect a secretary from among its members at the same time it elects its chairperson. This action is necessary to ensure compliance with Florida Sunshine Law, which requires all meetings of public boards be documented with official minutes. Given the current workload of the city clerk, it's not feasible for her to serve as the minute taker for this advisory board. And so this resolution would require them, much like the CAC, where they actually handle the minutes for that, to do this.
Okay. Open up motion and discussion. And I got that's kind of, so we put elect a vice chair in here as well, or is that?
I'm gonna add that to the ordinance.
That keeps you from doing it, right?
I'm sorry. Restate your
The vice chair, because that,
is that already in your
I don't-
main ordinance? Let me see what
I
it
don't
says.
think
I
it
think it may
is.
just say to pick your chair. Let me see what it says.
I don't even know what to say to that, to be honest.
Right now, it just says the members of the Historical Preservation Commission shall annually elect a chairperson. for
Okay,
its
that's it.
membership.
So should we have a vice chair and secretary, just to clean it up?
I can add that.
So,
Do we need to add it here or?
yeah, just make, when the motion say,
That's fine. I'd like to make a motion to requiring the Historical Commission to appoint a secretary and vice chair from among its members.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, no,
Yeah, I got one.
absolutely. Thanks, Danny.
Is this for the streets and stuff for the park? Is that what we're talking about here?
No, this is to the historic commission to.
Okay, well, I'll wait on that one.
You're coming up. Okay. Anyone else? All right, bring it to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see. Next up, item number 11, approval of resolution number 25-27, establishing Adopt a Street and Adopt a Park programs to promote community involvement in the maintenance and beautification of public roadways and city parks, providing for program guidelines, authorizing the city manager or designee to administer the programs, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass that to Mr. Copper for introduction.
So at the last meeting, when we brought the Adopt a Street program, council decided to add Adopt a Park. The city attorney wanted a little bit of time to look to see how the resolution needed to be changed, so we effectively encapsulated that. So we have added all that necessary language into the resolution to allow for both Adopt a Street as well as Adopt a Park.
Okay. Open up for motion or discussion. Motion to
approve. Motion to approve.
I got. No second.
Motion to approve. Yeah. Approve. Motion to approve item number 11 as stated.
12. It's actually item number 12. Resolution number 25 is 31. We
You moved to. Okay. So
just approve the resolution.
Adopted resolution 25-27 to institute the Adopt a Street and Adopt a Park program.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes. In this process, we need to make sure that we identify a program coordinator so that we got a single point of contact. So I'm just bringing that up so that we know, people know who to go to.
Yeah, that's part of that form, wasn't it, that they fill out?
Well, there wasn't anybody.
Could that be part of Parks and Recreation?
But we don't have Parks and Recreation. I have an idea of the right person to do it. I haven't sat down with that person yet. But we will.
There you go. Well, in effect, we already have a program.
Yeah.
All we did was expand it to include better process and procedure and add parks. So whoever was doing it before may or may not be doing it now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Anything else? Any public comment? Danny?
Yeah, Danny Phil's 8114, Lil Kid. Yeah, on adopting the park and streets and stuff like that, Light of the World has helped out before by being at Waterfront Park on Old Post Road there, 8119, and we did stuff in there before, but we just kind of volunteered to do it. We painted in the previous past and stuff like that and did work like that. So what we're doing, part of Faith and Family Month, and I know this is a monthly thing that you guys want done, right? On the street or?
Quarterly.
Huh?
Quarterly.
Orderly?
Yeah.
Quarterly, every 3 months?
That's right.
Okay, so Light of the World, quarterly, we could use men's maintenance as well as the youth in our church to go out and clean the park up, like pick up brush, sticks and papers and stuff like that, and just continue to help maintain it in that way. That would be something we could volunteer to do. We would have vests, we would have grown-ups with the teenagers and the youth to oversee it, so that way they wouldn't be no anybody get hurt or anything. Is that something that Light of the World would be willing to partner with the city to do with that park?
Is there something in there about
Under 12.
No, under 16 or what's
It's under 12. Nobody under 12.
no matter 12?
Yeah.
So,
So they can't be under 12, Danny.
Okay, under 12, so anything above 12 we could do, and then, we do started getting some youth, and they want to be involved, and that's something that we brought up, that when I take these to these meetings I have with Somebody Cares and Light of the World, they was like, well, we could adopt the park and help out there. So we want to be able to serve our city and our community. We get permits and use the park as well, and you notice at the end of our events, we clean it up and make it look nice because it was already nice. So we're willing to adopt that. Okay.
thanks, Danny.
Yeah.
You got our first volunteer.
One of the things you're aware that as going through this program, you're going to get signage on there indicate that this park was maintained by your organization, right?
Yes, so we could either put it under Somebody Cares or Light of the World. So I'll let them make that decision, and then we'll notify you guys in Public Works and then know exactly what we're supposed to do and not supposed to do.
There is, I believe included with this is the application package
Okay,
that you'll need to fill out, and whatever name you put in there is the name we'll use.
okay.
If I may, the application in the packet is just for the Adopt a Road program. We need to draft and adopt a park.
I thought it was in there.
Application
There's
is in
both.
there.
It's in there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I did do that.
Excellent. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dan.
I see it. No, that's still done.
And,
I see it now. Thank you. It has a manatee and everything on top.
and I
Very nice.
presented this issue to the Suncoast chapter of Salt Strong, and they were interested in adopting Brasher Park. And I'm trying to get them to grab Coons Road as well. So potentially an opportunity has presented itself to grab 2 parks in our city, and everybody benefits. I like it.
Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're back on track. Item number 12, approval of resolution number 25-32, setting a policy to place a 3-minute time limit on the invocation presented at the beginning of the regular city council meetings and providing for an effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
Yes, there was a conversation in the council to put a time limit of 3 minutes on the beginning invocation. The attached resolution does that.
Okay. Now open up for a motion or discussion.
Well, I'd like to make a movement to approve the resolution number 25-32, setting a policy to place a 3-minute time limit on invocation presented at the beginning of the regular city council meetings.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
That motion is second. Any further discussion? I'll just say on this, I think this is, I don't have a problem with this. There's, we had one instance where it happened, and then all of a sudden we're jumping. I want to set a precedent that we don't be reactionary on things like this just because of a one-off situation. We've never had a problem that I'm aware of that the invocations went over 3 minutes, but I think it's fine to have the guideline in place, so people know going in. Any discussion? Any public comment? Huh? Throw that guy out. All right. Bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next up is item number 13, City Hall, Police Department, Fire Department, Utility Trailer, Water Plant Network Switch, Device Infrastructure Replacement. It's a mouthful. I'll pass it to Mr. Cobb for introduction.
So, as council is aware, we budgeted money to redo the cabling within the city hall, police department, and the campus we have here. As part of that, it became clear, as well as a failure of one of our switches, that we needed to take some action to replace those to keep the infrastructure for our network, IT network, strong and viable. At that point, the IT and operations brought forward a proposal to me to replace a number of the switches that will then get us up and running again and have backup at the same time should we have any more switch failures in the future. So I don't know, Sal, if you want to say anything related to this, or you want George to come up and say anything additional?
For the majority, most of our network switches are either past end of life or at end of life now. 6 out of 8 of them. So it's, with doing the infrastructure work that we've already done, doing this next step just follows along with that, changing the cabling. And then, of course, we discovered that, the network switches were, past end of life. So this is the next step going forward. So we would like to move forward and do that before the final step of the cabling, where we shut each department down and interconnect everything. We want to replace these switches when we do that.
Okay. And one last thing with this, we are looking to utilize money in penny Pasco in building maintenance, and in that line item there were two projects that after checking and looking at those, one is the replacement of a air conditioning unit for the police department, and then the other is the fuel tank replacement for the generator. Both those we were able to fix the fuel tank, so we didn't need to replace it, so it meets the code, and we didn't need to replace the air cooling unit for the police department. So there's between those two about $37,000 available in that line item.
Very good.
Okay, open up motion and discussion.
Well, that's so I make a motion to move to approve the network switch device infrastructure replacement for the City Hall and Police Department by Dell Technologies through Ruckus for $20,880.72.
Second. Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
Go ahead. Yeah, I was looking at the line items on the, I guess, Penny for Pasco, the 117 account, and there's a line item in there for building maintenance. To my knowledge, I did not think we were allowed to incur operating expenditures for Penny for Pasco. They had to be capital expenditures that had a useful life greater than 5 years.
This.
So for us, and I'm just looking at stuff with third up, okay? We should call that building capital projects or whatever, that line item. Maybe it's bad terminology, but if we're going to walk and talk in alignment with what they want to do, these are kind of things that trigger red flags for, you know who, guys with the black hats, right? So, just an observation. And then the other observation is all this stuff that we've appropriated, $865,000. We need to take a look at what some of these things were defined. We're halfway through the year. We should have been deploying this rather than not deploying. So we've wasted opportunity with deploying capital. I understand that we've been going through hurricane remediation and stuff, so maybe it's time to refocus, rescope this, and take a look at those things that we're underrunning on our capital spends and try to get these assets deployed so that people can be more effective. Okay, that's all. It's an observation.
Yeah, and this is a really good thing. I also have IT background, and this is your arteries, right, to move information around. And obviously, we go more digital. It's paramount, and there's no amount of good cable it's going to put out there if it goes to a bad switch. So it's a necessary part of the infrastructure. Wasn't budgeted, but my understanding, I asked a question, was that we've got some stuff that was budgeted that we're not going to be moving forward with. So it just tit for tat here. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's going to put us in the right direction. Any public comment? Seeing none, I put to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 14, Fire Department request to offer classes at the fire station. I pass it to Mr. Coppock for introduction.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where, there's a good idea, but because of unintended consequences, you want to make sure that everyone is aware of it before it moves forward. And so at one point in the recent past, the fire chief stepped forward saying that, he wanted to have certain training at the fire department for free for our firefighters, training that they need to be better firefighters for our residents. And they're going to open it up for other departments also to fill those seats that would be available in those trainings. Now, those departments would be charged. And, if I left it there, you would not have any questions why I would want to bring it forward. But the next piece of this is that the company doing the training is the company that is owned by the fire chief. Now, we've kind of reviewed this. I gave it over to the city attorney. She looked at it. From her perspective, I think, and I don't want to speak for her, but I'm trying to. There really isn't any legal reason why you can't do this. But my experience has told me that people misinterpret what happens and perceive things in a way that puts our reputation at risk and could hurt our employees as well. But at the same time, I think that this is something that I wouldn't have a problem going forward with, and in other areas, other communities have done similar things. But first, bringing it to the council to make sure that you're comfortable with doing this. So everything is in the light, and no one can say that we weren't notified of what was going to happen, because at some point, there's potential you get that call and say, "Hey, did you know this?" So I'm trying to prevent that from happening. But from I think the legal perspective, and again, I'll defer to the city attorney on this, I don't think there's anything that prohibits what is being proposed, and there is a benefit to the city in doing this.
I didn't find anything specifically that would prohibit this happening. I will say that I agree that there is obviously there can be a perception of an impropriety because the fire chief obviously will personally benefit from this, and he is using city property to do so. I don't like the appearance of it. I don't like how it looks, but I can't say that legally it necessarily will cause a problem. And of course, I'm always worried about liability, which you guys hear me talk about all the time, but we can address that through paperwork. And I know that this company does have insurance. We talked about that, Jim.
So, and I get all that. I see the benefit here. If it was more than just the free training for our fire folks, and there was a rental fee for the facility, would that help? I think that from my perspective, it would.
I think for me, where the appearance of impropriety would come up would be that your fire chief will be teaching on his off days. He's not being paid by the city those days, but he is going to benefit monetarily.
Right.
That's where it will look like he is using his position as a chief of the fire department to gain money in a different
right.
And I think you could make the argument that giving our firefighters that free training is that trade-off of a rental fee, right? So, I think where you're kind of going with that, it kind of is naturally happening where you don't have to say, "Oh, you have to pay us money." Well, he's foregoing money that would be if he was doing this at a remote location somewhere. And so our cost for those firefighters is the use of our facility and our equipment.
Right, but we don't know our cost. We don't know the charge. I would like to see this arm's length transaction. In other words, record the fees that are being charged for the use of the facility and the fees charged for the training that we're getting. That way it's totally out in the open and there's no discussion. We can make the decision if it's a win on our side. I don't like not recording the transaction. And I think what that does, this particular arrangement has the ability to, okay, we're just going to turn the other way and not look at it. But if you put it all down and we charge or set up an agreement to charge X dollars for the use of the facility and specify the guidelines, and in exchange, we also are incurring this training already with an outside party.
Are we with who? Has anybody else offered to come in?
Well,
and
these guys are
train our
getting
firefighters for
they're
free?
getting
Any other
trained.
company?
They're getting trained today. I'm assuming, right?
But I mean,
What's that?
Everybody's been waiting for this, but what happens is if you want to take a class right now, you gotta take a week off, you gotta drive to Ocala, you gotta stay in a dorm. The city could be paying for the hotel, the travel, the overtime, the class, the books. The city pays for all of that. This happened because Pasco County and PHSC got into a fight. Make a long story short, they got into an argument, and the sheriff started all of it and whatever. He got mad at them, and I have had multiple meetings with the college. I was an instructor at the college, and multiple meetings with the college and the county. I'm like, you two need to get along. At the end of the day, we're suffering. You guys got people you need promoted, and people need classes for recertifications. So I got mad, and I'm like, listen, I really don't need you, and I really don't need you. You know what I mean? I'm a state certified instructor. The college has to accept the credentials, and if the kid wants to pay for the college credits, they have to accept it. The county has to accept it, or the fire department has to accept it because I'm a state certified instructor, and this is the requirements that people need to move on. That's how it all started. So at the end of the day, the problem was there has to be a way to pay the instructors, right? So there has to be a way to pay the instructors. So I had to formulate a business to formulate to become certified as a training center in the state's eyes, and then have credentialed instructors so we could charge outlying people that come into our classroom the fee. That money pays the instructors and pays for the liability insurance, and all the city employees are free. So you're not paying travel, you're not paying hotel, you're not paying class fees, none of that.
But we're paying that today. If our people to get them trained, they got to go out and do that now.
Right now. That's right. But this changes that.
Right.
Listen, I don't want any more work. But when I started doing this in the county, the college got upset because now the college still has to accept it, but they're not making any money. The college wasn't anymore. All they're doing is paying for the credits. The county wound up absolutely loving this program because the amount of money that they were saving in the whole process. But at the end of the day, it's me and other instructors that will be teaching the classes. Just when I teach, if it's a Tuesday, I take a vacation day. Other than that, I teach at nights or weekends when I'm off. But it's a burden for me, without a doubt. But it's a win-win for the city and for its employees. So, and we just wanted full transparency. I don't like walking in gray areas. It just is what it is. If you guys don't like it, you don't like it. Wash our hands and continue what we're doing.
How often does this training occur? Is it once somebody's trained? Is it good for so many years?
It all depends. I mean, every new guy needs a pump class, a hydraulics class, and an aerial class just to be accredited by the state, certified by the state as a driver engineer. All of our inspectors need recertification every couple of years, so they need 45-hour class every couple of years. All of the firefighters and drivers need classes, Officer 1, Officer 2 requirements, which is a series of 5 to 7 classes that they have to take, and then a state test to become Officer 1 certified or Officer 1 trained, and then Officer 2 trained. Officer 1, they could be a write-up officer. Officer 2 trained, they could become a captain. So it's just all of that process.
So it's definitely ongoing.
Yeah, I've been doing it at the county for 20 years. The city of Newport Richey, Dunedin, Brooksville, Hernando. I go in there and they'll call me, "Hey Gary, we need a class. We're about to have a promotional process and we're short, four captains or lieutenants. We need a class." All right, go over there and offer it to their people free, and then anybody outside that comes in pays,
including, I guess, our staff.
So
if you're putting on a class in Tarpon,
okay,
you let Tarpons
are free. Yes, the sponsoring agency gets the free free.
And then, so if we would send somebody, we'd pay for that, even though you were teaching it.
Yes, without a doubt.
So do we have any kind of numbers from a training perspective, what we spend per year on these kind of classes? No idea.
No, everybody's been holding off, waiting for this opportunity to do it. So, but it's sooner or later they're going to have to.
I don't want to jump in for 5 minutes.
Speak up. Go ahead.
There's more here, and I see where Gary's going with this. There's more here. Sorry. You gotta be gentle with it. I should know that by now, right? There's more here than meets the eye. If we open up our fire hall as the training center, you're bringing all kinds of qualified people into our city,
which is awesome.
Giving you all kinds of big eyes. I mean, I do this as well. I train, and it brings in all kinds of leaders, and you get a chance to hey, what about you? What about you?
It puts us on the map.
It puts us on the map. It gives us incredible clout, countywide. So I'm all for it. If it became an issue, obviously we could deal with it, but I'm all for it. And I think the fact we're going to get our guys trained and they don't have to travel is a win-win situation for everybody.
Well, I think we're lucky that they'll have Gary here in that opportunity.
Now, he mentioned something here. He says the sponsoring organization that's teaching allows their people to attend for free, right?
They get the free slots.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
we would be the sponsoring organization.
So
or anything that we hold here.
And this is where I was trying to draw the line. Here we have an organization, and I'm assuming you got the space there to train people, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if we're having a class, he's teaching, our people get a train for free. But what if he's teaching others outside of our folks? There needs to be associated charge for the room, right? So there
I
has
don't
to
agree
be
with you.
there has to be some recognition that you don't get anything that's an unrecorded transaction. Trying to avoid that. So we'd have to put some parameters around that so that everything in the transaction does get recorded and reflected appropriately. Otherwise, you have these the potential could exist if somebody says, "Hey, you're really not doing everything in the light."
Yeah. And if I could add to that, because that's exactly where I was going, and the two questions I'd have. One, would that limit access to fire company XYZ from being able to use our facility to have a training class, right? And that's
An outside party?
Yeah, because it means he's obviously
Some
the chief.
other instructor.
Yeah, some other instructor, say your competitor, whoever it is, right? They want to offer a class and they want to do it here in Port Richey because it's central to all the fire stations that they're going to do it.
Very few, if any.
And again, now, but
Like
that, 2 years from now, maybe different, right? So
there is one, Crew de Fort. That's the you'll see them downtown a lot. Yeah. Sometimes they'll try to put on a class. They'll use their fire truck and they'll try to put on a class and they'll try to find somebody that'll offer them a classroom. They bring the equipment. They just need the classroom to sit down.
Right. And also, we couldn't deny them the ability if they wanted to come and do that.
Why would you?
Right. I get that.
Yeah.
So let me preface this: is I see the value in this. I completely,
Right.
but I want to protect you. I want to protect the city.
Sure.
And she's unfortunately rubbed off on me quite a bit. And this seems to me like an ethics complaint waiting to happen. So I was gonna bring up the second part of my question was, would it behoove us to submit a question to the Ethics Commission to opine on this before we made a decision?
I truly don't know how long that process takes.
Well, yeah, probably 6 months or
So
less.
that might be the other issue.
And then my second question is if we approve this, does that then absolve that ethics thing, because actually we've ordained it from a council perspective?
Well, I don't think it's by law and ethics violation based on my research. Right, so I'll start there.
Okay.
I think it's an appearance of impropriety that I want to make sure everyone understands. Everyone knows what's going on. This is why it's happening or not happening. If there is an ethics violation, it's still an ethics violation, even if you say go ahead and do it. Right. That doesn't change that. But I don't think it is. The concern was the appearance, and the other half of that being, right, you need to make sure if others come and ask, we want to use your facilities, which I know he's, as long as liability is addressed, you need to let them do that. You don't want to. I think the appearance is even worse if oh no, only our chief
Right.
gets to do that.
And that wouldn't be the case, obviously. But I think we need to have some kind of agreement.
Waivers stand for
Yeah,
this?
the liability we can address.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But I would think that we'd want to. Did you want to say something, Chris?
I do, but I'm trying not to cut you guys off.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. We'd like to hear.
This is a classic case of a great idea that's just taped to the ground with duct tape till you kill it, and just goes away. This is a classic. We're all. I love the attorney, but you know what? She can come up with 50 different reasons why this is a bad idea right
I
now.
only had one.
Give her some credit.
And now she's convinced the mayor to do
No.
the ethics thing.
And if you don't think that the 7 county attorneys didn't have a question about it too,
Yeah.
the Pasco County will actually pay their employees to come to my classes and reimburse them for it.
I think it's a no-brainer.
20 years.
I agree. I just want to make sure we cover the bases and keep everybody out of trouble. That's all.
I agree in getting our people trained. This is wonderful. I hope the police department does it too.
I think it's a great idea, and I agree with her. It's bad optics. Simple as that. But to that extent, if we put guardrails around the things that are the bad optics and address it with a bulletproof process, potentially you're going to have to, come up with, process with Adam and the city manager how that would look, and let's assume you got two things: you're training our guys, you're training somebody else. If you're training our guys in our facility, that's a wash.
Everything's free. Yeah.
That's a wash. But you still need to account for both pieces. If you're training external to our workforce in our facility, then there should be a charge for use of the room.
Well, those are the ones that pay. That's what pays for the
And they
instructors
pay,
to be
they
there.
pay you.
Nobody will do it for free.
And you pay us for the use of the room. And that's what needs to be basically defined. What is that? I don't have a number.
So if your employees are in there, do we still got to pay for the room? If your employees are in there getting the education free, the class free, the books free.
I think it's all set.
I would say
That's what I'm saying.
I would say that
That's why it worked everywhere else.
round numbers. You charge $1,000 for the room, and you're charging $1,000 for the employees. It's a wash, but you still need to record the transaction as opposed to not recording.
Yeah, and if there's none of our, let's say you put on a class right here, and there's none of our employees in it,
and we charge you $1,000 for the room.
Well,
whatever we agree upon.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, you're backing into a number though doing that. You're
Oh,
not,
yeah.
I mean, I know what you're trying to achieve, and I've been sitting here being quiet, listening to that.
Right. I don't know any of the facts. I'm just
Right.
throwing out
But
stuff.
it's just we would so the way in kind of implementing what you're saying, what we would do is we would establish here's an equipment rental charge,
Right.
Here's a room rental charge.
Right.
The equipment's easy because we can just go to FEMA or the state and see whatever that piece of equipment is, and we can easily come up with that hourly rate. For the building, we'd have to do some
Square foot analysis.
yeah, we'd do some witchcraft to come up with that number. But that number may not equal what the savings is by those employees, because I'm not even sure how many employees we're going to have doing the training. Let's say it's 6, and you do that. There's usually an imbalance in that because our cost per hour for that's going to be a lot less than what you get charged by an outside firm anywhere. And so it's not going to be a direct, it's not going to wash out that
I
way.
get that.
And so it could either come out to be,
Plus or minus.
the company is getting more money or the city's getting more out of it, but it's not going to be perfect. So if what you're saying is you just want to be able to see the numbers, that's one thing. But if and what my concern was when I said backing into the numbers, if the numbers had to be equal, then that would be an issue, because I don't think, there would be a lot of voodoo with that.
Right.
But I don't think that was the intent of his conversation.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify what he was saying, because
he may owe us $1 one time.
In other words,
at the end of
each
the day,
piece would be determined independently.
Yeah.
Like it's $75 for a class per head, and it's $1,000 for the room. And if you only have, 10 people, that's $750. The deltas on our $250 we owe you guys. So, but there would be a check written, $1,000 one way and $750 the other, as opposed to $250. You don't want to net the transaction; you want to show it all.
What?
That's full accounting, full disclosure.
Wait, so you're saying that you would turn around and write a check to me?
No. Yes.
I don't.
We would write a check to you.
I don't like that.
For the services rendered for $750, and you'd write a check to us for $1,000 for use of the room. I'm just picking numbers. It should be the other way around.
Yeah.
It'd be better if we paid you to put the classes on and then you made money for the
That's
city.
what we're doing.
But if you,
He's a separate company. He's making the money. We're not
Right.
getting
In
anything
that
for it
case,
but free
if we're
rent.
if we're training our employees, we probably would not charge for the room. Those are the kinds of things you got to work out.
Well, that's no problem.
Yeah.
hey,
Gary's been doing it for years.
I've been doing it the way I've been doing it for 20 years. I don't want to, listen, like I said, it's a headache for me. The whole process is a headache for me. It's nothing but more work. I got to log in the states, organize classes, make sure people show up. If they don't show up, then we have enough to pay the instructors. And it's nothing but work for me. But
you can pick and choose.
it works. It works, and it's a huge benefit to our employees because they're not traveling all over the place to get these classes that they need and that we're asking them to have, and these credentials that we want them to seek, and it's just a huge benefit. But we wanted this. Me and the boss man talked several times, and It took me a while to drag him here, and he did it on his last day on purpose, I think. just throwing that out there, sir. I got a keen sense for the obvious. But if like I said, if you're uncomfortable with it, it's okay. It's okay.
No, I think we just need to work out the details.
I think what I'm hearing is that everybody thinks it's a great idea. It could really be beneficial. The attorney, while optics has its place, there's nothing that's going to be wrong with it from a law perspective. I think that's probably enough information for us to act.
You don't need a motion, or you just want a consensus?
You can always make a motion.
I want to make a motion. We allow Gary to do what he does best. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's going to educate our people the best, and he's going to make our city great again. So my motion is for that.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
Well, I just want, you don't have to take anybody. You can pick and choose who you train, right? Okay, there you go.
That's the nice thing about being your own.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah.
And the only thing I'd want to say is make sure that we put enough framework around this thing to make it easy to administer and ensure that we've got full disclosure and full account.
He knows how to do that.
My only focus is just to make sure that they're getting the classes that they need, and I don't want to do any more or any less.
There you go.
Like I said, I'm retired. I don't want to. I'm not here to kill myself. But
No, I get it, but the fire chief doesn't record the money, and
He's
Adam
not
does.
asking us to record.
Adam
He's going
does.
to train for free.
yeah.
So a process needs to be defined.
Adam's over there typing up the ethics complaint right now. I'm thinking,
Yeah, he's trying to. I got to cut checks, take checks, find out how to input money, get out money. You don't have to do nothing. Nothing.
any public comment? Again, any public comment? Seeing none, I bring back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 15, discussion of old business. Is there any old business?
If I could, real quick, one thing I want to add, we did get a date for the resurfacing or milling resurfacing of Bay Boulevard. It is scheduled for June 2nd. And so we'll be deploying signs here very shortly. I've got a lot of emails going back and forth on that.
And we're actually, I was just back and forth with them right now.
Yeah, so I was watching it.
Yeah. So hopefully the signs will be up tomorrow. I'm still concerned about proper notification, so they're going to get back to us. I kind of wanted a little more time, but they really want to push on the 2nd. I think that if they have the signboards up by noon tomorrow, with the media blasts of our Facebook website and everything, and mass notification to get it out there, I don't think we'll have any issues. So, but I'm waiting for them to confirm for tomorrow.
And it will be, as far as impeding traffic, where? During daytime, during nighttime?
This is daytime deployment, so they're going to, most of their work is going to be done, just one side of the road at a time. If they can,
So there'll always be a lane open.
There'll either be a lane open or a detour. We have some areas throughout the city, throughout Bay Boulevard that you can detour. So like the segment of Miller Bayou, right?
Right, you can go.
Right, you can go around Miller Bayou while they're doing that complete section.
Right. So long story short, the logistics in place that there's always a way to travel.
Yeah, they're not going to know. They will not be blocking traffic 100%. They'll always have to let lane free.
That sounds good.
In what part of Bay Boulevard are they doing from where to where?
All of it.
All of it from
All the way down to
The gate.
All the way down to
Sam
Guard
Pebble?
Shack?
all the way to Sam Pebble?
to Channel Drive, all the way down to Channel from Wilkins, from where they stopped on the corner of Wilkins and Bay,
Right.
all the way to Channel.
Are they going to start on the front or the back end?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I'll find out for sure.
Okay.
They may spread it out in just different sections, all depending on flux of
that's
influx
cool.
of traffic and other concerns.
Well, I'm going to guess they're probably going to be spending a lot more time on that section between Wilkins and Old Post because they have to do a little bit deeper tunneling. So I don't know if that'll be first or last thing they do. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other old business?
Can I update you on ALS real quick? Okay with that? So, I know we have some new council members and some that were involved before, but we're about to pull the trigger for the first time in the history of the Port Ritchie Fire Department to provide advanced life support services. So we've always had EMTs out there doing what EMTs do, but my goal was to push us to the next level And so we got some guys, trained as paramedics, state certified as paramedics. We bought the drugs. We got the doctor on board. We bought all the, you guys saw that, the heart monitors and all the things that we need to go with that. It's a matter of a state inspection. We're finalizing an insurance issue for our medical director. And I'd say within the next couple of weeks, I'll make sure everybody knows when we do it, because it's we won't be advanced life support all the time. We're not going to mandate that. It's a big expense. But when paramedics are on duty, I just wanted you to know that this long fight has been going on for 44 years. I've been here for almost the 5 years I've been here, and we're finally there. So
wow, good,
it's
great job,
exciting.
guys.
Yeah.
Any other old business?
Well, I just wanted to thank Mr. Butterfield for offering his services here, helping us through this transition. And it's just that being said, I'm anxious to be working with you. We'll get together tomorrow a little bit. And moving forward, we hire a headhunter for the new permanent city manager. Yet I'd like to see if Matt can start that process before he
I think
leaves.
you've already got quotes.
We do have 3 quotes.
Yeah. So it'll be on next agenda.
We can put it on the next agenda.
All right.
He won't be here on the next agenda, though, will he?
Oh, we get,
Yeah.
no, but he will.
He's okay.
Okay. All right, then. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Just Dave?
Nick's Park, we were looking into, fees, charging for that, all that. Anything new happening there? No?
I will say that Public Works is looking at doing repairs to the dock. Just put your aware of
The dock, there's some
potholes to the ramp,
Yeah.
where we have some potholes. In doing that, it could take the ramp down for a couple of days. So just be prepared for that. I know they're putting together what has to happen. I think they originally were trying to do it overnight, but what I had said is, if you're going to do it right. If you have to give it more cure time, they actually are getting the equipment to basically cofferdam off the area where they need to fix it.
Okay.
And it may need to set a little bit longer so it's done right. Because it just, why do it and then, not cure properly and you're back where you started. So.
No, I get that. Is that where the drop off is? Where? Yep, it does.
That's exactly where it's at.
Okay.
Website.
Yeah, we need that fixed.
Yeah.
We need that. Good plan. As long as it's after tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Good.
Got to get going.
Mayor's got to get his boat out tomorrow.
He's got problems.
Okay, I've got lots of problems. Any other old business?
Could happen tomorrow night, though.
That's fine.
Did the plans get turned in for the US 19 Grand
So,
Boulevard intersection?
Yeah, they
Were they turned in on the 23rd?
They got. I didn't hear if they got it in before the end of the week, but that was what the plan was, to get it in there. And again, just based upon what they did is huge, because they're not arguing over the timing of the light or the placement of the light, and that would have been the first thing they caught. So I think it's a good omen that this would get approved.
Oh, very good.
Good. That'll help a lot. Good. Just a reminder on the 100th anniversary and the time capsule, that deadline is tomorrow to get your stuff in. And I know most of us, including me, have not given that stuff to Sal's to be put in a time capsule. I'm going to work on my letter and stuff. I got the stuff I'm going to put in there. I don't know where you guys are at. Is that, do you guys plan on putting something in? Okay. All this.
Already done.
Okay.
I have a couple things I'm going to bring in the morning.
Is there any, just on a date? We're doing that on Friday. Is it, can we go ahead and use the 29th, have it in before close of business 29th?
That's fine. I mean, that's okay.
Okay. I don't know if you need extra time, whatever, but just to give
I'm just trying to allow.
And it's not going to be a ceremony, right?
There's not going to be a ceremony. Yeah. Not going to be a ceremony.
Well, no, because we've already passed the deadline and we're trying to keep it kind of low key so we can get it in the ground. And we already have a plaque made for the 18th. Time capsule says the 18th, so trying to get it in there and wrap.
So it's going on the ground sometime on 30th. So if you don't have your stuff on the 29th, it's not going in time.
Well, the big difference between the past 100 years and the next 100 years
There's a huge technology change.
Right, yeah.
They can see everything
Right.
in 100 years from now,
Yeah,
but
so
we didn't see
it should make it easier on what you're going to put in there. So
it's not a big secret anymore.
Somebody needs to put a thumb drive in there.
yeah, they might not be able to read it. Any other old business? Okay, moving on to the last part is our comments from mayor and city council. I'll start with vice mayor.
Vice Mayor, I have 25 minutes to talk. I'll have you know.
Just get about 7.
No, it looks like
So you got to share it between
Looks like
5 people.
26.
Oh, no. I'm taking my 25. That's just kidding. All right, listen, we've been talking about this for a while, and I'd like us to really look hard at this, and I would like your help to do this. We need to be able to have boat covers on these boats out here. These boats are getting smoked, and right now there's the Florida Department of Environmental Protection governs this and allows private and residential dock owners to install lift covers over their boats. But right now, Pasco does not allow that. So we need to look into, right now the Pasco, it says here the Pasco County Commissioners are getting ready to vote on this in June, early June.
So just at the same time, it's planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning.
And this will be coming as soon.
Okay.
It's already
So it's
been
already-
vetted.
it's already in the
It's
works.
in the works.
So are we all on the same page?
Oh,
Well, a couple things about that. And I think that I would like to have one on mine because you're right. But the reason Pasco County did have them and the reason they got rid of them is because the storm came and lifted them off and damaged the neighbor's house, and it affected the insurance in a lot of communities where these things were getting ripped off because of storms coming up. And that's why they stopped having it up, because people were complaining about the people that didn't have boats, complaining about the people that had the boats with the covers. So that's just something that needs to be addressed, I think. I don't know what the stats are, but they were ugly. That's why they eliminated them.
Yeah, I mean, a responsible person should be taking that thing down before a hurricane.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And again, we don't need to talk about it now. It's going to come to us on an agenda item.
Okay, right. There's something to think
It's
about,
already, it's already in the works.
Yeah.
though. But I'm all for it.
One other thing, I discovered talking to some staff and just during my general talking, our staff is not up to speed on AI and what the abilities of AI are. And I think that we're losing productivity internally, dumping huge piles of stuff on people's desks that could literally be programmed into AI and it can go through it and come up with it. I think we should think about, and this would be something for Andy, I think we should think about training in-house our staff on how to use AI properly, because it'll allow them to do their job better. And a lot of them don't know how to do it. I just recently learned how to do it. And I think there's a lot more to it than what I think. So I think we should think about training our staff internally. And that's for you, Andy. And that's all I've got to say.
That's only 2 things.
That's 2 minutes.
So,
Like,
I was ready to
what the
go.
hell?
I was going to get you guys some slack.
Councilwoman Burke,
I'm all good.
I just got comfy in my seat. And that was it.
Councilman Hubbard,
Ordered the popcorn.
I'm good.
Councilman Mueller.
I'm going to try to beat his 2 minutes. Grants. There was a FEMA grant that I sent to Matt regarding fiscal 24-25, SAFER and FP grant. I believe it was for fire department.
Safer.
Is that right?
Safer.
Safer, yeah. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, you guys are working that? Good job.
You better open your checkbook.
Yeah, you guys are going to be, because that grant is due July.
July, it's actually due July 3rd.
Yes.
So
And
Gives us 1 month.
no, it gives you 2 weeks.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You're right.
You don't want to plan on the end date. You want to plan on the start date. So, okay. I did like what I saw with the 100-year celebration. You guys did an awesome job. I'm sad that because of the hurricane, I believe a lot of residents that were here aren't here to participate. But the people that were here really enjoyed that. I got a lot of feedback. Great job. Fireworks are off the chart. We need to consider that company again. We got our money's worth. Everybody that I spoke with said it's the best fireworks show they've ever seen. They even heard the booms and stuff up in Hudson. So that was great. And I believe looking at the events that we had, focusing on those that were successful, as you guys do your analysis there, the car show, maybe a mayor's ball or an annual Port Richey ball, some kind of themed ball. I thought the 1925 era was phenomenal. I mean, we could look at doing different things. Masquerade ball, anything. I think something like that is a great community builder, and I think it's good. Also, where are we at on the 25-26 budget? Have we begun that, and are things getting circled through the departments and coming up with things there? Good. And I'd like to thank Matt for doing a fabulous job keeping us centered, keeping us focused, reining us in when we get off the chain, and we're going to miss him. You've really set the bar high for this community, and potentially all future city managers are going to have to walk in your shoes. And it was a job well done. Thank you very much.
We keep trying to make you cry, but it's not working.
I've been told I
No chance.
Well, I want to concur just what Dave said. In public, I've heard a lot of people have complimented fire department and police department. They're very proud of the city for what they've been doing and how they've held themselves the past couple months, especially. But yeah, it's an honor to be part of the city, actually.
Yeah. That it? No, that's good. Okay. And obviously, as a segue to mine, it was, again, like I think I said earlier, if not, I had the meeting with the Centennial Committee earlier, so I'm not sure what I repeated and what not, but we put on great events, and it was befitting of our 100-year celebration. I was a little sad that we didn't have participation from the public in some of them, but we did put on some nice events, and I'm glad that at least some of the public took part of that. I want to specifically thank not only the committee, the council support, but also staff that gave their time to help make those successful. I know Sal specifically was out after the car show, for example, picking up himself the barricades and all that. I stayed and helped him with that. But there's countless amount of work that goes into those events behind the scenes after everybody's grabbed their burger and their slushie and went home, saw the cars. There's a lot of cleanup and all that, and staff really preparing the park before the events there on the weekend. So hats off to you guys for all your support in doing that. Fire department, police, also for helping with the parades, and it's just everybody did a great job, and we all should be proud that we did ourselves justice for this 100th anniversary. So, and like I say, going on, I do want to see those events, like I mentioned earlier, about putting that committee together. One of the things that I didn't touch on when we talked about the charitable stuff that we did with the raffle, the dunk tank, and there was
Baskets.
well, that was a raffle. I guess it was a raffle and dunk tank. So through those two things, we raised just under $1,500, give or take. I think it was $1,280 was getting picked up from the chamber, and then there was another $175 in credit card transactions at the ball. So, and that's going to be split between 5 charities. The $108 on the dunk tank alone, if the numbers were right. So,
I think those were all you.
I think I had a majority of that.
I think you guys dunked 108 times.
No, you guys did help out. I appreciate.
That brings up a subject that we were talking about as far as the whiskey with the city name on it.
So I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So give me a second. And so that's going to be distributed. And what one of the reasons that we had an issue in the chamber / McDonald School of Business, which is the 501c3 arm of that, is distributing that, is we don't have a process in place for the city to give charitable donations. We need to have a process in place where we decide we're going to do something for charity, whether it be a charity mayor's ball for holidays or whatever, or another raffle, what have you. Where we announce that, those entities are able to apply, similar like a bid process, and then we would pick which one or ones we want to donate to. So I think we need to put that in place going forward so that we don't have to have this money changing hands other places to support the charities. We want to have some kind of process in place to do that. Any objections to putting that together?
I just want to know, can I comment on that?
Give me a second. I'll come back to you. So that, and then the Centennial Rum that we talked about and authorized, just to give you an update on that. So the label's been finalized and sent to the government entities to approve. I anticipate that being approved. It went back a couple times with some small changes. So that's done. We had a mock-up at the ball. We had around 57, 58 people that signed up as interested in that 100 bottles. Last meeting we talked about that. Nancy obviously wanted any of that money coming into the city for that, and we had some public comment from some folks. And after I left here, I had an epiphany, if you will, that I thought, we're not really looking to make money on that. We want a memento or whatever. And I think it would be a great idea to take the proceeds of that 100 bottles and to apply that to a substance abuse or alcohol abuse entity, so that as we get that money goes back into fighting the very things that it could cause. Kind of an odd way to think of it, I think, but
not really.
Well, I mean, for some people, you're actually going to do something. You're going to sell a bottle of alcohol to support doing away with alcohol abuse.
People do it all the time.
Exactly, and that's why you've got the taxes and stuff that are so high on top, because those government programs are put in place to do that. So I think it's a great idea. It gives us something in the city to have as a memento, and it supports a good cause to do that. And that being said, and we don't have to talk about it tonight, but after this goes through and see how successful, I want to bring it back and see about if we remove the limited from it and make it an ongoing product, that a portion of those proceeds continue to funnel to that entity to fight that, and it could be in our local bars and whatnot, and be kind of a neat thing for the city. So I want to talk about that.
Do that?
Huh? Yeah, so that's.
I thought they were doing that all at cost.
Well, so the pricing structure would be different going forward, obviously. We'd be all hands off. It'd go through local distribution. It'd be out. The bars could purchase it through their things. It would just be something that when you go to Catches, you could see our Centennial Rum on the shelf, and be kind of an icon, like I said. And all the proceeds that would be worked into that would go towards supporting substance abuse, alcohol abuse.
But it'd be the second edition, not the initial.
It wouldn't be limited. It would be just regular.
Would it be our edition? The 100.
No, so that's just so you know.
Would be another run.
Yes, another run, same thing, but the 100 bottles, and they're specifically, they say limited Centennial Edition. They're going to have 1 of 100, 2 of 100, 3 of 100.
And they'll be marked off.
I'm going to sign the thing, and so that's just a limited run for that.
I want number 1.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple organizations I think that would work well very locally that could use benefit from
so that's
that.
why I want to get the thing in place so we can look at that, so we don't have to.
That's cool.
See what Danny has to say.
Right. Danny, you want to make a comment real quick?
Name's Danny Fields. Address is 8114 Leo Kid. You heard that you got people on both sides of the fence on that. So the main thing is we want to be able to recognize and promote things that would encourage family and fun, because the flip side of that is when we deal with people that drink, and I know that they sell alcohol in the stores and the gas stations around here and all that, but if we could give that money that came from this event for the rum to an organization that is dealing with drug and alcohol addictions, because the negative side that you hear from not only the faith-based church, but people that I've talked to out in my community, at the park, when I was out around, that if a person drinks a few shots of alcohol and gets in a car and drives down the road, they're impaired. Maybe not to the point, but if they get pulled over, then what happens? they're going to check them and breathalyzer tests, and then they're going to be charged. The worst case scenario is they're impaired, they wreck their car. Then now you got the police and the fire department on that. So the point I'm making is I want to promote our businesses and growth of businesses. The main thing is, if we look at those that need to be counseled in this, it brings a lot of negative. It brings the part where people do drink and try to escape their problems. They end up being in a situation where they can't function driving, and they put other people's life on the line. I'm going to give an example. I growed up around a lot of that kind of stuff and seen the negative part of it, even though it's allowed to be used. Like take a 20-year-old man, a friend of mine. Well, he was drinking vodka, 101 alcohol. He drunk enough of it to where it killed him. They considered alcohol poisoning. I know that the police and the fire departments dealt with that, especially you get into bigger facilities. So we need to also recognize that we want to promote the business and awareness. So the people, some was for it, some's not for it. So if we're going to promote anything, we need to be aware of the negative consequences and what it is. That's where the council, you guys have to make that decision for all people and be aware of all these things. So I hope that you will take that in consideration. People, they can't function. They live on it to escape, and then they start hurting their families, loved ones. Another quick story, another guy.
I'm gonna cut you off this, because I got a couple more things for our deadline, but it'll be on an agenda item that we've.
Okay, so we could talk about
that yet, but thank you, Danny.
Well, he ended up in prison, but that was it because he killed somebody. So that's all I wanted to say. So let's think about this when you make these decisions.
Sure.
But if you promote that with something else, we're good.
Thank you. Okay, and then a couple more things. Our town hall is June 3rd, and we're a go for across the street, right, at Suncoast Mobile Home Park.
Yes, I think you and I have clarified with her that it's open not just to Suncoast residents; it's open to public.
She did reach out and said she was going to tell everybody to not park in that area to provide some additional parking or whatever. So if we could get the city's notification to go out for the town hall.
We discussed that this morning, as well as I'm going to get with George too on the logistics for streaming as well.
Where would people park? There really is no place to park.
They've got some, and I think there's probably some street. I don't anticipate that, based on our town hall attendance, that there'd be a big problem. But obviously, if everybody decides to come to this one for whatever reason,
there's not very.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's
Or some out behind that parking there.
yeah, and it is across the street, so really they could park over here and walk across again. I don't anticipate a bunch of people going to that. Outside of that, the idea is actually get more attendance by going to them, and so it's probably going to be there are probably a lot of people there that live there, but we're not closing it down. The entire public is welcome, and like I said, if we even have a handful that normally come here go there, I don't think it's going to be a problem. But obviously, we may need to reevaluate that for future.
June 2nd.
June 3rd.
June 3rd at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. at Suncoast Mobile Home Park.
And it
then,
cuts off at 8.
Cuts off at 8. Those are 2 hours. That's right.
I'll be in
Open
Orlando.
agenda.
That's all right.
That's fine. It's not a requirement you come. So if we get that notification out, that'd be great. And I know she's already advertising as well over there, so hopefully it'll be a good event. Going back to the money we raised, $1,400 plus for charity. The committee decided that we want to try to double that with a charitable matching campaign. And so I want to get from your perspective, since this money is kind of circumnavigating the city because of how it's implemented or whatever, if there's anything we need to do in order to do that right, we're going to solicit, hey, we've got this much money, solicit a match so that we can probably double that for those charities.
I'll let you know.
Okay. So if you could check into that.
So in other words, loosely, say you got $1,500 that we raised in excess, and you're going to put it out.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we got $1,500. Does anybody else
Willing to
want
match
throw in money like myself?
Right.
Put money into that.
Yeah, the goal is to try to take that 14 plus and turn it into
And
28.
I think if you emphasize the charities that it's going to, so that people are aware that it's going to a good cause, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and let me just tell you who those charities are.
Yeah, which would be good.
They are Crawl for the Cure, which is the walk.
Cancer crawl.
The cancer crawl, right?
Right.
Vet Catch, they helped with our fishing tournament. He takes out vets on fishing things.
On a fishing, yeah. Okay.
Runaways Animal Rescue, which is right back here somewhere. West Pasco Historical Society, which
Okay.
is
They contributed.
and then All Hands and Hearts, which helped us with hurricane recovery and stuff.
Perfect.
So those 5. And then Ron with the chamber and his nonprofit, I think he's going to take 10% of that for facilitating the exchange. So he's a nonprofit too that benefit. So the last thing I have is our July 4th plans. So I know we've decided we're going to forego the fireworks because we were going to do the centennial. We didn't want to put the money towards another fireworks show, and I believe we talked about doing something on some weekend, whether it be a picnic in there in the park or something to recognize 4th of July outside of fireworks. What's y'all's thoughts on doing something? If we have a appetite to do something, we probably need to get on that.
You mean like get me some food trucks in there, or just
We could yeah
but
do
without
a
an
Some
event?
music or something. I mean,
Without,
that's-
yeah.
we could probably hire a band or something to play in the pavilion
Just
and food
thinking
trucks.
of making something decent. You know, somebody wants to come listen.
See if the Johnny Cash guy wants to come back. He was really good, by
That
the way.
was too soon.
What day is the 4th on?
The 4th is
Is it in the middle of the week?
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at finding bands.
that's right. We got an expert right here.
Yeah, Fridays first.
Friday.
So it's Friday.
Oh, it's
So-
on a Friday.
It's on a Friday. So
We could do something.
on Saturday
Well, no.
or Friday night.
Let me tell you, if you want somebody, you better start doing it.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to rain on any of this, but you're asking a lot to do in just a short amount of time. And then the fact that it is a holiday weekend, the majority of staff will be off that weekend. Your July 4th is on a Friday, and you have Saturday and Sunday.
That's a 3-day weekend.
It's a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, and we don't have to do
I
it on
will
that
have-
weekend either. I'm just if we're going to do something.
I'm just saying, with planning these events that we just did required months and months of planning and time. This is not just something we whip up real quick. It's nice to talk about that it can happen quick, but I don't move that fast. I'm not that good. So if someone else wants to tackle that on, we can call a vendor or do something. But
The bands book up 6 months in advance, don't they?
Yeah, you gotta move on it.
Is there any appetite to do something with 4th of July? Or just
Are we doing fireworks right now?
no,
No.
nothing. We're doing nothing right now.
I think we're so close right now. You just leave it alone. Give some of them a break. Let's all enjoy our 4th of July and not do anything.
I kind of think that too, because there's just, you just
Too
finished.
much.
You just finished everything.
Right.
And there's
Yep.
so much going on that weekend.
I agree.
There's so much going on here, or people are going other
That's
places.
what we talked about the bicentennial, to push all that through, and then that would be it. Nothing for the.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. There may be just transparency. There may be some because we always put on a 4th of July fireworks show. There may be people that
Well,
did
if we
participate in
want to
City
have,
of Life.
We just had the best.
Already shut the was.
we want to have something like the holiday season, we need to start planning that now.
Oh yeah, and we need to get this committee and stuff in place to look forward.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure that we're on board with nothing on 4th of July.
Right.
Okay.
And then we need to be looking at 4th of July next year, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe look at that same group
Yes.
and put it on.
Exactly.
And knowing that it's on a Saturday, probably move one day.
I will say,
Probably
why
need
don't
to book now.
we go ahead and? Is there any objections to booking that same company to do our 4th of July next year?
Well, hold on, which one?
The one that just did our centennial.
Why don't we leave? You're going to get a committee together, and that committee is going to have a job. What was that?
Yes. They can do that.
That's what we got to give a job.
But these 4th of July vendors, they get booked up early. So
there's a couple of factors, and both our city managers will agree that we got to talk about budget. What we're gonna be able to budget, if we're gonna have money to set aside to put towards that, just like we did this year. I can definitely reach out to every vendor that I did to start getting proposals for next year. The thing that you'll want to think about, especially for July 4th, is what date you want to lock in, so I can get these proposals. But I do agree with Councilman Mueller that getting it done ahead of time, especially if you want that company, they are a very big company. They're very professional. The fire department told me it was one of the best companies that they've ever worked with since we've done fireworks for the city in several years. The equipment that they brought out, top-notch professional. Of course, we had no fires, we had no risks, nothing like that. Yes, it was a bit closer to what we're normally used to. We had some, cardboard debris in the air, but regardless, given all them circumstances, it was the best show that the city's probably seen ever. And I mean, I've got no problem reaching out to them and start locking in and moving that process. But this is something we definitely want to talk about for budget, because even with the committee form, we don't know what we're going to receive in sponsorship dollars or anything like that moving forward. So we want to look into that as soon as
Let's
possible.
not wait. Like I said, it was a good company and they did a good job for us. So. Okay, we got 15 seconds left. Anybody wants to make a motion?
Like to make a motion to adjourn?
Second. Motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.